All right, you and I are about to dive into the wildest revenge story of the year. While normal kids were in elementary school, I practiced holding a blade, and while they fell in love, I learned wiretapping as a deadly spy. I lived in constant pain from brutal wounds, surviving countless life-or-death missions in ruthless mercenary squads. Decades later, I rose to become an absolute legend in the global assassin underworld. The world's top armed organizations feared only one man, the god of murder Bardro. But now I am over 60 years old, having spent my entire life serving as a loyal dog for the company. Yet I was brutally thrown away by our new boss, just because I grew old and got terminal cancer. To him, useless trash belongs in the garbage. Hearing those words made me realize my reality. Hearing this, I decided to retire. But instead of letting me go, the company sent a massive army of professional assassins to hunt me down. After surviving their ambush, my dying body miraculously reversed its age, turning from an old man back to a 20-year-old. 3 months ago, I quietly retired and opened up a shop. I ran a peaceful bookstore, taking my cancer meds daily, just like the doctor ordered. Death never scared me anyway. After all, I have spent my entire existence walking right on the edge of the grave, serving the company for 50 years, risking my life over and over. I never regretted a single step. Even now, looking back, I can honestly say I have no major regrets left in this life. But looking around, I suddenly realized something sad. I have never once taken a single photo of myself in my entire life. Just then, a high school girl walked into my shop claiming she was looking for a textbook for her younger brother. But a very familiar, dangerous scent in the air instantly made me fall dead silent. Putting on a friendly smile, I welcomed her and asked what she needed. She asked for exam prep books, but as soon as I turned around to search the shelves, things went south. Now watch closely, here is where it gets interesting. Suddenly the girl pulls out a dagger, but I calmly tell her to leave, while she still can, leaving her completely shocked at how I already knew. I coldly whispered that my entire life has been stained with blood. Did she really think a splash of cheap perfume could hide the metallic stench of a blade? Just from that brief glance, the girl instantly realized that the legendary god of murder Bardro was not someone she could ever hope to defeat. Suddenly, I tackled her straight to the ground. I knew the company too well. Once an assassination fails, they immediately initiate Plan B. While she was wondering what that meant, extreme danger arrived. 2 masked assassins burst through the bookshelves. This young girl clearly did not understand how the company worked. They wipe out everyone, including their own failed assassins. If a mission fails, the assassin gets silenced too. I quickly darted to the other side of the shelves, but the moment I pulled my gun and turned back, I froze. The girl had already been taken hostage by those 2 killers. To make matters worse, my aging body suddenly locked up. The assassins laughed, mocking whether this pathetic old man was really the legendary Bardro. Suddenly, Number 8, the boss's personal messenger, stepped out from the shadows. He coldly sneered that no matter how legendary my past was, I could never defeat a terminal illness. I quietly asked them why they wanted me dead. Number 8 laughed, explaining that the moment I walked out, thousands of hungry killers would hunt me down. After all, the bounty placed on my old head was a staggering $7.6 billion. And that was my fortune. That exact amount was the fortune I had spent my entire life saving up. Number 8 burst into a maniacal, twisted laugh, calling me his senior. He screamed that once I died, that massive fortune would fall into someone else's hands, so I absolutely had to die by his own fist. Heavy, brutal punches began raining down on my defenseless body. I was sent flying, crashing hard onto the floor. Thinking I was knocked out, Number 8 let his guard down. But I suddenly raised my hand to give them a parting gift, a high-powered flashbang that blinded the entire room. Using my perfect memory of the shop's layout, I managed to escape into the night. The assassins calmly assumed I wouldn't get far, believing I would soon bleed out. I know what you are thinking. Is this really the tragic end of our legendary killer? I collapse under a park slide, my stomach bleeding out from a bullet wound, while my body completely fails to fight off the cancer. I served that heartless company for 50 years, never chasing after luxury. Why did I have to end up like this? A burning wave of resentment washed over me. I refused to die like a dog. More importantly, my hard-earned money in the bank had to stay safe. That fortune was meant to be a legacy for the only person I ever cared about. Despite my burning fury, this dying body could no longer move even an inch. A while later, Number 8 and his lackeys stood in the rain, absolutely furious. They were pissed that their $7.6 billion had vanished. As they prepared to throw my old body into a dumpster, a cold, youthful voice echoed, saying, "That was my first photo." The assassins gasped, wondering why this random kid was wearing the exact same clothes as Bardro. Honestly, even I had no idea what was happening to me. I just woke up and realized my body had completely transformed. The assassins sneered, warning me that this wasn't a place for some random high school kid to wander into. I calmly told them not to waste my time and to take me to Number 8. The two thugs exchanged a glance and laughed. They mockingly assumed I was just some dumb amateur looking for trouble. But their eyes widened in total shock when I effortlessly blocked a punch from their champion boxer with my bare hands. I squeezed hard. The thug's hand bones instantly shattered into pieces. The other assassin panicked, lunging at me with a blade. But in the blink of an eye, heavy punches cratered his body. I calmly explained that those who rely only on knives are mere third-rate amateurs, while those who master all weapons are second-rate. But a true first-rate assassin, a top-tier killer, can turn absolutely anything in this world into a deadly weapon. The assassin watched in utter disbelief as I grabbed a piece of octopus. Feeling deeply insulted, he lunged in a fit of rage. I whipped the octopus leg forward, disarming him instantly, before wrapping it tightly around his neck. These foolish weaklings stood absolutely no chance against me. Since they wanted death so badly, I gladly decided to send them straight to hell. After all, I am the legendary Bardro, the former king of assassins. The top killer in the business has officially returned. Waking up in a youthful 20-year-old body, I realized the old Bardro they were hunting is dead. Now only a reborn monster remains. Inside a sleek luxury sedan, speeding through the dark, rainy night, Number 8 knew that the company would soon issue an official global bounty on the legendary Bardro. He had to capture the dying old man before anyone else did. Meanwhile, I left Number 8's base, knowing it was finally time to deal with that bald bastard. I walked straight into a public restroom under the shocked stares of ordinary bystanders, staring at my young reflection in complete disbelief. The bloody bullet wound that had pierced my stomach had vanished without a trace. Even the agonizing, crushing pain from the terminal cancer was gone. I had fully reverted back to my 20-year-old prime self. Though I have absolutely no idea how this happened, it really doesn't matter right now. Nobody from the company will ever recognize me like this. But before I plan my next move, I seriously need to buy a decent set of clothes to replace these rags. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what comes next, because I am about to teach these rule-breaking punks a very polite lesson. Stick with me, you are about to watch a legendary killer politely ask two punks to smoke outside, only to get cursed out. Honestly, why waste precious time on trash like this? I need to wrap this up as fast as possible. I slowly walked towards the two who knocked out Tsuchiya. Time to show them the price of disrespecting their elders. One thug raises his hand in disdain. Suddenly, two heavy punches land, crushing his throat. His windpipe collapses instantly. Terrified, the other thug asks who I am. I do not know him, but I recognize his weapon. It is a Kwabina knife, and he is holding it backward. Swing that, and he cuts his own fingers. He roars, who says I am swinging. But to stab you, do not pre-extend your arm. Blinded by rage, the thug lunges at me with his blade. I easily disarm him and thrust his own blade back, stopping just short. If I wanted him dead, he would have died 3 times already. Shaking in horror, he asks who I am. I crush his collarbone, warning him that knowing my identity means instant death. Later, I discover my bank account is empty. The $7.6 billion is gone. I clearly ordered them not to touch that cash. That was a massive inheritance meant for my loved one. Suddenly, the kids behind me excitedly talk about receiving Glory Club scholarships. But pay attention here. The orphanage where I grew up, once a small religious place, underwent a dark change 50 years later. It is now a massive, influential, global conglomerate. Under the clean mask of Glory Club, they run every illegal operation imaginable. I dedicated my entire life to this company, so I must destroy it myself. Meanwhile, inside a dark slaughterhouse, the butcher sneers. Did you really come alone? Palchoin scoffs, saying the butcher is no Bardro, and dealing with trash like him alone is a total waste of time. But the butcher knew guests were coming and prepared a special feast. The next second, 4 Buckner mercenaries step out from the shadows. The butcher knows. Palchoin is not one of Glory Club's 12 apostles, so he does not understand why he acts so incredibly arrogant. He orders his men to welcome the guest. Palchoin never breaks eye contact. 2.5 seconds later, the butcher collapses totally defeated. He cannot comprehend how a human can move like an octopus. Palchoin coldly tells him that even with this army, it is not enough. Using his insane flexibility, he won the National Jiu-Jitsu Championship. The next instant, his neck twists a full 180 degrees as he lunges. A moment later, Palchoin returns to his own base. He finds the place completely trashed with all security cameras destroyed. There are 0 signs of weapon usage. Palchoin cannot understand how that old man Bardro escaped death and even slaughtered his elite men. He orders a girl to report any signs of Bardro immediately. Suddenly, the front door swings open, leaving a bystander totally confused. He politely asks what the visitor wants since they are closed. I calmly reply that while we did not schedule a meeting, we do have history. Palchoin asks if he ever collected a debt from me. I coldly reply yes, about 7.6 billion won. He smiles, then orders the door locked. And you and I both know what happens when someone underestimates a master. The server chambers around, while Palchoin cold stares, looking at this uninvited guest. He wonders where this kid gets his absolute confidence from showing 0 fear. So he offers 2 choices. Reveal where Bardro is and walk away alive, or resist and get a bullet to the head. I calmly respond that neither appeals to me. How about a third option? Anyone who knows this is already dead. But I am Bardro. And yes, I am the one who killed your 2 men. Palchoin has no idea what nonsense this kid is talking about. He wonders if this brat really killed those 2 instead of Bardro. If so, he cannot comprehend why this kid is targeting him. He warns the student that this is a real gun, so talk and leave. What is your connection to Bardro? Beside him, the girl draws her daggers, ready for combat. I sigh because they do not believe me. That means they leave me with no choice but to kill them. Palchoin barks an order to his gunmen to end this instantly. In a split second, a wooden chopstick impales the gunman's neck and muzzle. He collapses. The girl is shocked he was taken down by a chopstick. Looking at this boy, who is her age, holding another pair of chopsticks, she realizes no one in the country possesses such terrifying skill. Palchoin sneers, asking if he thinks he is cool. With that kind of power, why not join hands with the Glory Club instead? What a scumbag. I quickly flip a table to block the incoming bullets. Palchoin laughs, mocking me for acting like a foolish kid. This is not a movie, kid. A table cannot stop bullets. Suddenly, a massive pool of red liquid starts leaking from underneath. Still trying to recruit me, Palchoin approaches and suddenly lunges forward to fire, but he realizes the red liquid on the floor is not blood. It is chili oil. As he frantically searches the room, I drop from the ceiling, spitting the hot chili oil straight into his eyes. I instantly deflect his gun hand, stripping the weapon from his grasp in a flash. He is completely unable to track my movements. He cannot see me move at all, wondering if this monster is actually a kid. Next, his neck is snapped a full 180 degrees. He falls lifeless to the ground. In decades of fighting hundreds of opponents, he has never faced anyone this young with such overwhelming god-tier strength. Back when he was a rookie, his instructor taught him a last resort tactic. Distract your opponent the moment they let their guard down. And that is where we leave it. Years of rigorous daily training made his lethal strike absolute. Trust me, his revenge has just begun. Get ready because you and I are about to see a legendary jiu-jitsu expert lose his mind in a life-or-death struggle. Refusing to lose, Octomon grabs his opponent, unleashing his ultimate sure-kill chokehold. Octomon roars in pure rage, screaming that he has been killing since before this punk was even born. He shouts, "I have seen and done things you cannot even imagine, you little brat. Now go to hell and die." But then a calm voice echoes through the dark, praising him for holding on so long. Octomon looks up in horror only to realize his target is standing right there, completely untouched. I was so blinded by rage that he accidentally strangled his own henchman. Decades in the assassin underworld have given him the perfect instinct to realize one terrifying truth: he is about to die by this man's hands. As death stares him down, Octomon realizes this monster's power is on an entirely different level, easily surpassing even the elite 12 apostles. Trembling with fear, he drops his pride and desperately begs for his life, trying to negotiate. He grabs the terrified girl next to him, offering her as a bargaining chip, pleading that she still has uses. I look down at him, my expression completely cold and unbothered by his pathetic attempt to save his skin. I tell him he has quick reflexes for a Glory Club member, so we have a deal. Hearing this, Octomon bolts toward the exit, secretly plotting to investigate this kid's identity and butcher him the first chance he gets. But watch closely. This is where the table turns. Just as Octomon thinks he escaped, a chilling whisper behind him utters the words, "Sure kill tactic." It is the exact warning his legendary instructor used to say to him. When you think you have won, you are already dead. Hearing those exact words, Octomon's mind completely freezes as an absolutely impossible, terrifying realization begins to dawn on him in his final moments. In the eyes of this teenager, he sees the shadow of his long-lost legendary instructor, Bardro. I stare down at him and calmly ask if he remembers the warnings I gave him just a few minutes ago. Anyone who knows my real identity does not get to live. And just like that, the nation's top-ranked jiu-jitsu master is instantly choked to death by the legendary god of murder. Against the absolute power of the legendary Bardro, survival was never an option. Shortly after, high up in a luxurious Glory Club skyscraper, a terrified operative reports the grim news directly to his superior. Their top assassin, Octomon, has been confirmed dead. They cannot believe that a dying old man shot and on the brink of death could wipe out 4 highly trained elite killers in a single day without leaving a single trace behind. The boss immediately orders a global SSS rank hunt to eliminate the legendary Bardro. Meanwhile, out on the crowded city streets, people suddenly freeze as they look up. Everyone stares at the massive public screens showing the elderly Bardro under a fake charity campaign. I know this is just their cowardly way of putting a massive bounty on my head. But they will not find me because I am coming for them first. To completely tear down the Glory Club, I am going to need some serious backup. The very first person who comes to mind is a wild wolf-like hacker. But dealing with her is always a massive pain. Late at night, I make my way to a sketchy public restroom that is surprisingly busy. I recall a hidden mechanism, disguised in this filth, used for underground black market deals. And with a quick slide, the secret passage opens right up. The hidden bunker is still ridiculously luxurious, completely dripping in stolen wealth. Suddenly, a cold, sharp cane is pressed hard against my throat from behind. I calmly ask her if all this expensive silk and jade is useless to her anyway. Since she is completely blind, I ask why she keeps such luxuries. The woman chuckles, remarking that she never expected to drag herself out of retirement and get back to business so soon. Her vision might be gone, but her sense of smell is sharper than a hound's. She instantly realizes she is facing a young man with no scent of alcohol, proving he is definitely not one of the local beggars. Despite his youth, he radiates an overwhelming wave of pure bloodlust. She demands to know if he was sent by the Glory Club as she launches a series of lightning-fast lethal strikes with her cane. She gasps, "PS, calling me a slippery little rat," and complains that my dodging is ruining her expensive wallpaper. As I effortlessly evade, I start to wonder if she is actually blind. She is tough, but I am done playing games. She is shocked that Glory still has an operative, this incredibly powerful. Yet she notices a complete lack of genuine malice from me. Even so, her blood feud with the syndicate can only end when one of them lies dead. With a fierce growl, she orders her guard dog McKing to tear me apart. But a second later, a bizarre whimpering sound echoes through the room, leaving the blind assassin completely frozen in confusion. You and I both know how incredibly protective guard dogs are, right? Yet this highly trained German Shepherd is happily cuddling with a total stranger. After I explain my impossible rejuvenation, Jaiwan is left in absolute jaw-dropping disbelief. She aggressively feels my face, shocked by my smooth skin and the complete absence of my usual old man scent. Stunned by this impossible youth, she collapses onto the floor, staring blankly as she tries to process the miracle. She eagerly asks if dying in that exact posture is the secret to getting young, dying to try it herself. She bombards me with questions about how I died, bullets, blades, or poison. Only after a sharp flick to her head does she finally behave. Once she finally calms down, she asks if I plan to wage war against the entire syndicate all by myself. I look her in the eye and tell her my plan is to walk straight into the eye of the storm, leaving her completely baffled. I explain that Glory is blinded by rage, trying to hunt me down. The absolute best way to dismantle them from the inside is to become one of their active assassins, leaving her even more confused by my insane logic. She calls it complete nonsense, but then it suddenly clicks. Absolutely nobody recognizes my rejuvenated body. If I manage to infiltrate their ranks as a rookie, I can easily destroy them from within without raising any suspicion. It means I will literally be assigned to hunt down myself, controlling their entire operation from the shadows. She looks at me with a mix of awe and terror, admitting that I am easily the most frightening man alive. However, she points out a major flaw in my plan. Only children raised within the secretive Glory orphanage are ever recruited as official assassins, making it virtually impossible for an outsider to join. Even though I originally came from that exact orphanage, my rejuvenated self is technically a complete outsider with zero records. But she does not know that I have already found a loophole to bypass their strict rules. Just 2 days later, inside a private academy funded by the Glory Club, the female students are buzzing with wild excitement because a drop-dead gorgeous new transfer student has just arrived on campus. My perfect loophole was to enroll in the prestigious Xinyongguang High School. Standing before the class, I introduce myself under my new identity, Kim Soon-gu, a seemingly ordinary teenager. The girls eagerly guide me toward the main assembly hall. While this place looks like a normal school on the surface, its dark, hidden purpose is to serve as a secret breeding ground for elite corporate killers. They secretly run a specialized program to turn these kids into cold-blooded weapons. My absolute only ticket into the Glory Club's inner circle is to secure a spot inside this deadly assassin class. Inside the chaotic auditorium, Jawan speaks through my earpiece, reminding me that this special class strictly accepts orphanage kids, only questioning if I have any real way to get their attention. I tell her there is one extremely rare exception that bypasses their rules, and I am about to force them to notice me. I step up to the microphone, ready to shake the entire school. I calmly introduce myself to the massive crowd as the new transfer student, Kim Soon-gu. I state that my favorite hobby is fighting. I am exceptionally good at it, and most importantly, I am a professional killer. Instantly, the entire hall drops into dead silence as shocked whispers erupt. This is exactly what I wanted, forcing the secret assassin class to make the first move and recruit me. I confidently add that I plan to be the top academic assassin in school. Suddenly, a massive brute aggressively shoves his way through the crowd toward me. I smile, realizing the first fish has taken the bait as he yells at me for hitting on Yijin. I have absolutely no idea who he is talking about. But this loud confrontation is the perfect stage to show off my skills. This angry brute is Yisul Jung, a guy who has loved only one girl his entire life. Today marks exactly the 22nd day of his relationship, earning him the title of the most fiercely loyal romantic in the entire school. But unfortunately for him, he is also about to become a laughingstock. I thinks I stole his girl and is out for blood. The undisputed king of the Mapo district is about to learn a brutal lesson, and trust me, you and I are going to love watching this bully get completely dismantled. You and I are about to see this bully completely break down, crying to his sister in fear of death, and Sungu's fist never landed, ending in a harmless forehead flick. Jang I-seok slumps to the ground in terror, just as a teacher rushes over screaming about fighting in school. The furious teacher demands to know what my dad does. I calmly reply that he's probably dead, getting a quick apology before being dragged away, while assassin students watch from above. They find this new transfer student pretty interesting, already debating whether they should just eliminate this arrogant kid who clearly doesn't know his place among the crowd. Cho Yunshin is completely stunned. She can't comprehend why this dangerous man is here. Is he planning to destroy the entire school? At lunchtime, Yunshin suddenly hears my voice. I tell her the other students are too enthusiastic, so I'm taking refuge here before asking why she's here. Looking guilty, she claims she has absolutely no appetite. But looking at her tray, her portion size says otherwise. She flashes back to the night I saved her, remembering my warning to blame the murders on Peter to survive. She asks me, I kept our little promise, so why did you still follow me here? Are you actually here to silence me forever? She complains that she's under constant surveillance because of me. I calmly clarify that she's not my target, and this pressure is just something she has to deal with. After all, she's only alive and eating lunch because of me. But she warns me how terrifying this place is. She points out, I don't even know her true identity, asking what an outsider expects to achieve. I just smile and ask for her help, reminding her that we're already in the same boat. She speechlessly asks why she'd ever help me. I coldly reply that I'm counting on her, calling her by her real name, Lee Yuna. She freezes in shock, wondering how I know her name, but when she looks up, I've vanished. Now pay attention here, because this school athletic meet is about to get wild. The star runner, nicknamed the Bolt of Glory High, is forced into retirement. All because of that monster transfer student. Left completely in the dust, the former star runner can only sit in the corner and cry his eyes out. Next is the vision test, and the class is completely floored. Is this guy some nomadic tribesman? He scores a mind-blowing 6.0. Up next is advanced fruit peeling. Even though I'm out of practice, I grab the knife and effortlessly carve a cute little rabbit. Later, 3 classroom delinquents arrogantly confront our teachers, sneering with total disrespect. They refuse to clean, calling him useless and mocking his power to only deduct points. They even accuse him of abusing his position. They threaten to get his license revoked, but the teacher fumes, warning them of expulsion. The punks just laugh it off, claiming they are just defending student rights. One of them even pulls out a phone, planning to record the teacher's meltdown for social media, bragging about the millions of views they'll get. That's when they spot me, the legendary transfer student everyone's talking about. The bullies immediately tell me to get lost. I ask what happens if I don't, prompting one of them to spit on me. He warns me to crawl away quietly if I want to live. But to my trained eyes, this punk's punches, you and I both know he's a legendary assassin. So watching these punks fail to land a single punch is hilarious. They can't hit me at all. Another punk tries a sneak attack with a brick, but the next second, the brick literally turns to dust in his hand. Terrified, they apologize to the teacher and flee, screaming threats that they'll get me next time. I ask the teacher if he's all right, but he actually scolds me for fighting in front of him. I bend down to grab the phone the bullies left behind while he asks if my name is Sungu. Suddenly, a sharp slicing sound cuts through the air. The instructor smiles, noting he knew I was special, and his proof is my coffee cup. Not a single drop spilled during the fight. He asks where I learned to fight like this, or rather why. I want revenge against Glory Club for stealing my entire life. Obviously, I can't say that out loud, so instead I fabricate a fake story about a fictional enemy who ruined me. Hearing this, he solemnly asks if I want to join the service department. I've been waiting for this exact invitation. I felt this guy watching me from the shadows the whole time. Teacher Li Guangui is actually a high-ranking assassin instructor for Glory. He explains that the school's secret killer training class operates under the guise of the service department, where only a select few are taught how to survive as killers. He warns me the path ahead will be brutal, but welcomes me to the group. Looking around this ordinary classroom, I seriously doubt if this is actually where they train deadly killers. The instructor calls for everyone's attention, introducing me as the newest member. Lee Yuna is absolutely horrified to see me standing there. She desperately prays that I'll just pretend we are strangers. But instead I look right at her and give her a slow wink. Panic sets in as she wonders if that's a signal she's about to die. I introduce myself, amused that such a boring room breeds killers. Suddenly, two guys step up to pick a fight, claiming only orphans raised by glory can enter, complaining that I used a backdoor connection. Meet the Dugu brothers from the 58th batch. The older brother is a speed specialist, while the younger brother possesses absolute monstrous strength. I can only laugh considering I'm literally from the first batch of that orphanage. The instructor suggests they throw a little welcome party. The class eagerly agrees, joking about slicing up my flesh to make some welcome tea. The massive Dugu brothers step forward to greet me. Yuna tries to warn them, but they just dismiss her. And that's where we leave it. Trust me, you're going to want to see Sungu absolutely wreck these overconfident fools. Trust me, you and I are about to watch a legend who has taken so many lives he completely lost count. The Dugu brothers warn the transfer student to get ready, because today is the last time he will ever fight, sneering that this place is no playground for street punks. Punks like him will never understand why we risk our lives. The younger brother sneers that they train to become the world's greatest killer, just like that one legendary figure. The legend they worship is actually the Apostle Bardro, which is why they despise backdoor recruits. As we square off, I honestly do not even care to listen. I am tired of their endless talking, so I tell them to just come at me together. Hearing this, they think I have a death wish. They scream that a backdoor cheat knows nothing of their painful past. Meanwhile, my 65 years of survival have been heavier than anything they could ever imagine. The other students cheer, thinking the transfer student got scared and ran away. But as I walk away, a sudden voice calls out to me. It is Lee Yuna, asking if I am looking down on the service department. She was watching closely and noticed my brief clash with the brothers. She saw that I did not put any real power behind my fists. I try to make up an excuse, but she instantly knows I am lying. The proof is right there. I did not even break a single drop of sweat, and she demands to know why I sneaked in. Now pay attention here. I just play dumb and tell her it is lunchtime, completely ignoring her questions as I walk away. Yuna screams that it is actually midnight. Meanwhile, a bus driver is dancing with joy after being paid 1,000,000 won to charter his bus. But he soon gets confused. He clearly received a group booking, so why is there only one single passenger standing before him? The passenger says he is alone, but has heavy luggage. When the driver politely tries to help load it, the passenger aggressively slaps his hand away. He asks the driver to bet on what is inside. As the bus drives off, the terrified driver is sure of what he saw. That suitcase was definitely moving. Back at school, our instructor receives a request from a massive conglomerate chairman named Choi Un-chung as one of Glory's biggest sponsors. His recommendation means the winning team immediately gets their official license to become professional killers. The mission is a hostage rescue. Kidnappings have been happening constantly, but the big twist is that one of the victims is the chairman's own son. When students ask why they do not call the police, the instructor reveals the chairman wants bloody revenge. Skipping this means another 2 painful years of training before they can get licensed. But giving such a massive case to rookies feels highly suspicious. Suddenly, a mocking voice sneers at them. The Dugu brothers sign up immediately, telling the others to rot here forever. But then they burst out laughing. They laugh because the backdoor cheat and the class coward signed up too. Surprisingly, the instructor tells them to go have fun first. I wonder why a hostage rescue is happening at an amusement park. The brothers stare at girls in bikinis until Yuna snaps at them. The instructor explains that this amusement park is where the boy was taken, and they must eliminate the kidnappers. Our only clue is that the target was last seen near Blue World, but his current location remains a total mystery. You and I both know it is impossible to find one kid here. But Yuna notices that I look entirely unbothered. The park staff tells us we cannot enter because this popular ride requires booking in advance. Since this is our very first time at an amusement park, We obviously have no idea how any of this works. The Dugu brothers lecture her about being a serious assassin, but they immediately run off to play like little kids. Yuna sighs at their hypocrisy, while a nearby stall owner tries to lure them into playing his rigged shooting game. He secretly laughs, knowing they will fail, because he heavily weighted the back of all the targets. But his jaw drops when Yuna, despite never using a toy gun before, absolutely shreds every single target. As the owner cries over his losses, I watch the other students smiling and laughing, having the time of their lives. They came from the same dark world as me, so I want them to enjoy this rare moment of peace. We never know when we will ever get to smile like this again. Meanwhile, Yuna finally remembers our mission. Suddenly, her phone detects a signal from the kidnapped boy's device, meaning he is somewhere close by. But why is the signal coming from the ladies' restroom? She decides to investigate before calling for backup. The room is empty, except for one girl. To avoid a scene, Yuna politely asks her where she got those headphones. The girl panics and screams, attracting her boyfriend, who bursts in ready to fight for his woman. She points at Yuna, calling her a psycho who tried to attack her, completely ignoring Yuna's explanations. The guy lunges forward, determined to teach her a lesson. Meanwhile, the rest of us are wondering where she went. The brothers worry, but you and I know our girl can easily handle any street punk trying to act tough. Yuna instantly pins the guy, almost shoving her lollipop into his ear, before stopping herself to interrogate the girlfriend. She demands to know where the headphones came from. Meanwhile, the crowd outside gasps as a mysterious figure approaches. All right, let's dive in, as I track him down, using Choi Eun-gil's app. Our targets match. It is an amusement park. In a crowded place like this, vanishing without a trace is nearly impossible. Yet one ride is fully booked all day, with absolutely zero visitors, a totally ordinary-looking haunted house. We push the doors open, and the Dokugo brothers warn us that the game is on and to follow closely. Yuna tells those two idiots to let go of her clothes. Something is wrong. It is way too quiet here. Our mission officially starts now. Half the job is done because our actual goal from the start was to get kidnapped. The instructor tries to halt the mission, leaving the operator confused as he realizes this is no ordinary operation. Park Sang-do has appeared. He was once an apostle candidate, but even glory could not control him and exiled him. The operator claims. The trainees are prepared, but the instructor knows that Monster is on a completely different level. The operator stares in horror at the instructor's leg. Meanwhile, inside the haunted house, Yuna and I are bound. Park Sang-do smiles, noting that normal drugged targets sleep with their mouths open. Yet my mouth was closed shut. You and I both know Guangui has a prosthetic leg, and he warns that Park Sang-do is a monster. Chopped off. Suddenly, Yuna's phone rings. Park Sang-do answers it, hearing the instructor's furious voice on the other end. I threatens to kill him if he touches the kids. Park Sang-do just laughs, greeting Senior Guangui mockingly. He asks if the senior is afraid he will cripple them too, proposing a sick bet on how many legs will be left. The operator wonders why the veteran is shaking. Inside, the Dokugo brothers shout at the villain, completely unbound. Park Sang-do tells Guangui to hurry up as his twisted game is starting. Yuna frantically whispers. She looks over at me, wondering if I am actually asleep, and panics at how clueless I seem. I watch her amused. I was never asleep. She tells me not to misunderstand her intentions. She tries to teach me how to escape using her basic training, unaware I freed myself long ago. I just wanted to be ready to step in if things went south. She warns me that man is a lethal killer. I calmly ask if she likes to gamble. Meanwhile, the Dokugo brothers underestimate him, thinking he is just an ordinary man. They demand to know where Choi Eun-chang's son is. Park Sang-do smiles, loving their rude, arrogant attitude. He offers a wager. If they win, he will grant their demands and free their target. Now pay attention here, because Guangui knows betting against a psychopath like that is a death sentence. He adds that if they lose, they each forfeit a leg. The brothers scoff, saying he will be using a wheelchair. To keep things fair, Park Sang-do tosses them a weapon. The older brother sneers, warning him he will regret this. The older Dokugo is Glory School's top knife fighter. He believes that with matching weapons, he has the clear advantage. He predicts an easy victory in a battle of attrition, but something feels deeply off about their identical blades. The weapons feel totally different. Park Sang-do mockingly asks what's wrong as the older brother finally spots the trick. The blade has no edge, Yuna, and I prepare to step in, but the older brother stops us cold. He roars at us to stay back, declaring that if they cannot defeat him, we stand absolutely no chance. This man has no idea what they went through. Their final orphanage test was a month of pure starvation in hell. Equipped with only a single pistol and one bullet, they had to survive a valley infested with wild beasts. Trainees used their single shot differently. Some hunted for food to survive. Others used it to betray friends or end their own lives. But the brothers chose to fight to live. They saved their bullet for the very end, believing it would one day decide their ultimate fate. Out of 181 trainees in their class, only the 2 of them survived that hellish week. Then they heard a legend. A young killer named Bardro had set an impossible record-breaking score. They trained for 10 years to be like him. To them, this middle-aged man is just another stepping stone. The younger brother lunges forward, determined to make this arrogant villain regret handing them a weapon. Park Sang-do laughs, suggesting he should chop off their arms instead. The older brother drops his useless blade. Since the blunt knife cannot slash, his brother will simply stab with brute force. The blade drives forward. Park Sang-do sneers, telling him to stop dreaming about becoming Bardro. Suddenly, the younger brother's weapon shatters. You and I just saw their dreams shatter as he literally crushes the weapon with bare hands. Stop dreaming. Get ready, because you and I are about to see this massive kukri knife slice through everything in its path. Park Sang-do trained with it for a lifetime. Heavier than an axe, yet faster than a sword, it is a pure killing tool. In the hands of a Kali martial arts master, it becomes a literal meat grinder. The Dugu brothers never expected such crazy speed. Wielding that heavy steel with ease, they realize this middle-aged man is no ordinary worker. He's an absolute monster. Before blacking out, the brothers scream for Yuna and Sungu to run. Sang-do tells them to relax, claiming he would never hurt kids. But a bet is a bet, so he demands one leg from each of them. On the phone, their instructor desperately begs him to stop. Suddenly, a calm voice cuts in, asking Sang-do if he wants to double the stakes. 2 legs, 2 arms, and even their lives. Sang-do grins at the offer. Recognizing the guts of Glory Club, he tosses a knife over, eager for a fair fight. Sungu stops Yuna from stepping in. Instead of taking the weapon, he calmly reaches down and picks up a simple metal tray. He announces this silver tray is more than enough. Sang-do bursts into hysterical laughter, finding the kid utterly ridiculous. He warns the boy that he will not show any mercy just because he is facing a high school kid. Sang-do lunges with terrifying speed, mockingly asking how many strikes that cheap metal tray can possibly withstand. Now pay attention here. The instructor on the phone only hears static, desperately praying. The kid survives. He cannot let the tragedy repeat. He cannot watch another team get completely slaughtered by Sang-do's blade like that fateful day. Years ago, Sang-do cornered a terrified dealer, asking her to bet on whether she would leave the room alive or dead. Back then, Glory Club sent senior assassin Lee Kwang-ji to eliminate Sang-do, hoping to quiet the public outrage he caused. It was an elite squad of 5 B-tier assassins. No matter how strong Sang-do was, survival seemed entirely impossible. But the moment the battle began, Sang-do wielded his blade with a monstrous power that transcended human limits. That night marked the end of Kwang Jawi's career. It proved that the weapon itself does not matter. The wielder does. Back in the present, Sang-do grins wildly. He mocks Sungu, telling him that his luck has officially run out. Sungu's metal tray is instantly sliced clean in half. Sensing extreme danger, Yuna prepares to jump in and assist. Sungu realizes the kukri is usually a blunt, heavy tool, but this one is incredibly sharp. He was genuinely surprised. Squeezing the broken tray, Sungu reshapes the metal. Yuna realizes in shock that he did not use it to block. You might be thinking the same thing I did. This kid is definitely hiding some god-level skills. His previous strike was aimed perfectly, yet the boy evaded it instantly. Sang-do wonders where he learned such evasion tactics. Believing it was just a fluke, Sang-do decides to test him again to see if it was pure luck. Throwing his jacket as a distraction, Sang-do unleashes a brutal slash. He is sure he hit, but the boy vanishes. His blade only struck a nearby cushion. Before he can react, a cold flash of metal grazes his throat. Leaping back in terror, Sang-do realizes he barely escaped death. If he had not blocked, his jugular would be severed. The precision of the strike is terrifying. Sang-do stares in disbelief, realizing no ordinary student could possess such mastery. The thin metal tray cannot cut through thick clothing. Soon-gu deliberately targeted the only exposed area, his neck, moving at speeds impossible to track. Sang-do questions if this boy is even human. Yuna watches the battle unfold. Each heavy swing of the kukri demolishes the surroundings. But because of the weapon's weight, Sang-do is slightly slower. Yuna believes Soon-gu will win a battle of attrition, but suddenly a thin line of blood appears on Soon-gu's cheek. Shocked that Soon-gu was hit, Yuna gasps. Sang-do sneers, declaring that small pests require a much faster, smaller blade. A hidden blade emerges from the heavy kukri. Soon-gu knew the heavy weapon was slow, but now things have changed. By ditching the heavy weight, Sang-do gains insane speed. Yuna watches in shock as his combat style completely transforms. She notices something odd. The hidden blade is a stiletto meant for stabbing, yet Sang-do keeps swinging it instead. Ready to deliver a fatal blow, Sang-do swings. But suddenly his arm freezes mid-air. He stares at his hand, paralyzed. Soon-gu asks if he lost his strength. Sang-do finally realizes the throat attack earlier was just a clever distraction. The boy's real target was his hand. Soon-gu lists the nerves he severed, including the median radial and ulnar nerves. Every muscle, nerve, and ligament required to hold a weapon has been sliced. Soon-gu never planned to kill him. Trembling Sang-do realizes this monster is no student. How many souls has this terrifying reaper put to rest? Sang-do once mocked him for bringing a tray to a knife fight. Now Soon-gu will show him real despair. So what do you and I make of this villain? A lifetime of bullying turned him into a monster. All right, stick with me here. You are about to watch a broken man completely lose his mind. A voice asks if he wants to make a bet, causing his dying heart to beat with sudden adrenaline. His weak legs move on their own as he stands on the cliff's edge, knowing this lethal bet will change everything. Risking his life triggers a massive rush of adrenaline and dopamine, making him feel stronger than ever before. This dangerous addiction made him an undefeated monster. But right now, he's getting absolutely destroyed by a teenager. Desperate, he screams at the kid to kneel, threatening to blow up the suitcases holding Chairman Choi's son. If these grenades go off, the ceiling gas pipes will ignite, burying everyone in this room alive. He screams at the boy to kneel, but our main character just scoffs, completely unfazed by the threat. The pin is pulled, so he forces Sang-do to clamp down on the grenade while relentlessly beating him. Now pay close attention here. He calmly puts the pin back in, leaving the terrifying villain absolutely broken. The defeated maniac screams that he never wanted this, leaving Yuna wondering what his next move is. Instead of fighting, Sang-do drops to his knees, begging for mercy. Just as the instructors finally arrive, they witness an unbelievable sight. The legendary arrogant killer whimpering like a dog. The crisis is finally over. With the hostages finally saved, Sang-do is dragged to Glory headquarters, leaving veterans in utter shock over what happened. A bunch of high school students successfully took down a legendary monster that ruined veteran careers, raising massive suspicions. But with no hard proof, the 4 rookies are officially promoted. Though the Dokgo brothers are furious about their rank. They captured an S-class threat, yet they only received low-level D-class licenses for their efforts. Suddenly, the elevator opens to reveal 2 towering, terrifying figures, making the rookie brothers try to flee immediately. But a woman steps out with a smile, welcoming them and explaining they have been expecting their arrival. She explains that it is because they rescued the young master of the powerful conglomerate Daxia Group. You and I both know nothing comes for free, but they are treated to luxury suits and an exclusive weapon tour. The woman explains that Daxia Group is a massive military enterprise supplying state-of-the-art weapons to glory assassins. As a reward, the chairman lets them take whatever gear they want, but the brothers act too proud. Claiming they do not need guns, they choose basic tools, leaving the host speechless as she coordinates shipping. Meanwhile, Yuna spots high-grade Damascus steel knives, desperately wanting one, but holding herself back. She feels she did nothing to deserve it, while our main character is asked if he has chosen yet. He simply grabs a pen, knowing these weapons are too familiar. Right before the woman receives an urgent phone call, is escorted to the office of Chairman Choi Yun-chang, who greets the young student with a smile. The legendary chairman welcomes him, but our main character immediately demands to know the reason for this meeting. The chairman tells him not to worry, then drops a bombshell asking why he looks exactly like Bardro. Flashback to 1978, when a young Choi was kidnapped by hostile agents, demanding their advanced missile blueprints. The military dispatched their most elite Delta Force teams to handle the crisis in a desperate rescue attempt. But the enemy was completely ruthless, wiping out the entire elite squad and forcing the chairman to seek extreme help. He begged the high priest of the Glory Church, offering whatever they wanted to rescue his beloved son. He requested the strongest of the 12 apostles, but the priest calmly told him to pray and have faith. The chairman worried, noting that 3 elite special forces units had already been completely slaughtered. The priest simply cut him off calmly, stating that this lone warrior was more than capable of succeeding alone. Inside, the enemy base guards wonder how an intruder breached security only to face a young cold Bardro. The lead guard is immediately headshotted as Bardro moves through the train with absolute terrifying speed. Every single gunshot claims a life, matching his bullet count exactly with the number of enemies. Suddenly, a commander holds the young heir hostage, screaming for the assassin to drop his weapon or watch the boy die. The commander realizes he is facing the legendary Ghost, who survives any impossible high-risk suicide mission. Bardro suddenly tells young Choi to duck when he counts to 30, leaving the captor completely baffled. As the captor demands he speak their language, Bardro counts to 3 and instantly readies a coin in his hand. The coin pierces the commander's skull, and trust me, you and I just saw a legend in the making. All right, you and I are diving right back in. This man will never forget this debt, but Bardro quickly corrects him. I didn't come to save you. I came to rescue the future of Dacia Group. If you understand, get on up, because we still have a long road ahead of us. Thanks to Bardro, Choi Eun-chang survived to this day. Even 40 years later, he has never forgotten his savior's face. Staring at me, he asks if I am Bardro's grandson. Honestly, I didn't expect him to ask that. I was speechless. It has been a long time since I felt this anxious. But seeing that once weak little guy grow up to be so powerful is amazing. He already heard that I only chose a single pen from the massive armory. No matter the reason, he refused to let his savior's grandson leave empty-handed. Choi Yun-chang insists it's just a small gift, begging me to accept it. This is the absolute peak of Dacia's technology. He calls it a small token, but it represents the ultimate crystallization of Dacia Group's future tech, the legendary custom motorcycle ST, which was originally chosen and designed for my grandfather. This beast is packed with the strongest engine Dacia Group ever built. It reaches an unofficial world record, shattering top speed of 527.21 kilometers per hour. On top of that, it comes with full stealth capabilities that jam all nearby signals. This means you can execute missions completely off the grid without worrying about GPS tracking or security cameras. I tried to tell him it was unnecessary, but the Dugu brothers immediately started complaining, calling my refusal childish. They actually asked if they could return the bike, which was predictably rejected by the staff. I just sighed and asked why they were still standing around instead of getting on. They needed to hurry up and hop on. Of course, the Dugu brothers kept muttering under their breath. That's when our instructor Lee Kwang-hui suddenly called us with some unexpected news. He says the senior members of Glory Club want to meet us. After all, we're the first special recruits in 4 years, so they're naturally curious. He wants us to go show them some passion. I had to hold back and ride slowly so the Dugu brothers could keep up with me. Meanwhile, the instructor was already on his way, to tell the seniors that the monster rookies had officially arrived. And here we are, the Glory Club, Kangxi branch, inside the Sacred Glory Chapel. The Dugu brothers are already complaining about how exhausting it is to be this popular. Watch closely here, because this is where our rookie crew enters the belly of the beast. This dark chapel is where Glory's elite killers receive their divine assignments based on their specific ranks. To get their targets, these cold-blooded assassins must pray directly to the priest, who blesses them with absolute victory. Li Yuna watches the entire process with wide eyes. She finally realizes how professional killers operate, and honestly, I didn't know low-level assassins did things this way either. The Dugu brothers eagerly open up the divine revelation given to them by the priest. But the paper only has 3 words written on it. Just fight. The priest grins, explaining that they never give actual missions to raw recruits. Instead, they receive a special blessing of delicious, holy blood. In the next second, he splashes the red liquid right over the older brother's head, asking him how it tastes. He sneers, saying they've been waiting for low-level trash like us. But the brother just chuckles, replying that some people have to taste things themselves to learn their lesson. He asks if the priest is the same. And just like that, the battle formally begins. The Dugu brothers boldly declare that they won't go easy on these older guys just because of their age. The cultists mock them, calling them clueless, low-level trash who don't understand reality. The older Dugu brother calmly fires back that of course they don't understand, because they weren't born to stay at the bottom D-class level. Their true destiny is to rise and become S-class apostles. They find these arrogant B-class opponents incredibly boring. Watching the clash, the other assassins realize these rookies are actually holding their own. Li Yuna notices that because they are filled with confidence, they are fighting much harder than before. They are fighting way better than when they clashed with Park Sang-do. The cultist panics, wondering where the other brother disappeared to. Suddenly a hand reaches out from the shadows and grabs his ankles. The older brother grins wickedly, asking if he was looking for him. With a loud roar, the younger brother leaps into the air with a heavy fist. But the cultist just scoffs, asking if their dream is to become the next Bardro. I know what you're thinking. Is this guy actually going to talk down to them? He claims he thought the exact same way at their age, but now he has to teach these rising stars a brutal lesson. In an instant, the younger brother's hand is pierced, and the older brother is swiftly knocked down. Li Yuna tries to step in, but she is blocked by a high-ranking B-class killer from Glory Club. This is the 33rd ranked B-class killer, Zhang Guanzhang. He asks her how it feels to face a real professional assassin, noting that normal killers struggle their entire lives just to reach B-class. Reaching B-class is like catching a falling star. He explains the brutal system Glory's D-class killers usually handle ordinary targets, with over 336 active members. C-class killers deal with armed syndicates and mobs, with around 200 members. B-class killers resolve internal conflicts between assassins numbering around 100. Finally, the prestigious A-class elite killers handle high-level national assassinations. There are only 30 of them. Once you choose this dark path, your hands are stained with blood for the rest of your life. You spend your entire life bleeding and sweating to climb the ranks of Glory Club. But even if you throw away your entire life just to reach that high A-class level, it is still not enough. Because S-class is a completely different level that effort alone can never touch. Standing at the absolute peak of the assassin world are the 12 elite disciples known as the Apostles. The cultist mockingly asks the kids if they want to know the secret to becoming an apostle. He laughs, telling them they just need to be reborn, before slamming his fist straight into the older brother's head. He tells these delusional rookies to stop dreaming, go back home, and find their mothers for some milk. Li Yuna is deeply horrified, wondering why they had to beat them so brutally. That's when Zhang Guanzhang suddenly recognizes her face, realizing she was just a small-time sidekick to a low-level assassin. He sneers, telling her she has zero talent or right to be a killer, and that even a stray dog would laugh at her attempts. But suddenly a hand clamps down on his wrist like a heavy steel vice. I calmly tell him to step back and stop crossing the line. He struggles in shock, unable to break free from my iron grip. Furious, he barks at me asking if I really want to start a fight. I remind myself that I must keep a low profile here. A rookie defeating a class Park Sang-do was already way too suspicious. If I show my true strength, Glory Club will target me, ruining my entire revenge plan. To catch Glory Club completely off guard, I must hide under this weak D-class identity. Meanwhile, Zhang Guanzhang keeps screaming right in my face, calling me an arrogant brat who doesn't know how to respect his seniors. I tell him he can beat me all he wants, as long as he lets me take my friends to the hospital. One has a deep puncture wound, and the other is unconscious. Any further delay will put their lives in serious danger. I sincerely swallow my pride and beg him to let us go. Zhang Guanzhang smiles smugly, agreeing to back down, but says it cannot end so easily. He demands that we hand over our service certificates before we can walk out. He grins wickedly, telling us to come back and try to take them once we grow a bit stronger. The four of us leave the chapel defeated. The older brother is devastated, wondering how they will explain the lost certificates. If our instructor finds out, he will literally tear all our hair out. The older brother hangs his head deeply, apologizing to Li Yuna and me for failing to protect us like a proper team leader. He laments that as the leader, he should have only shown us his cool and powerful side. I just place a helmet on his head and tell him to move. It's time to go grab some food in the cafeteria, leader. As the motorcycle speeds down the open highway, Li Yuna quietly asks how she can become stronger. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how he secretly trains her next. Yuna asks if I even care that our licenses were stolen. Trust me, in this world, survival of the fittest is normal. We must learn to endure when we are weak. Later that night, several cultists laugh about competing for food with total trash when suddenly they notice the rookie from earlier has returned. One of them, Zhang Guanzhang, sneers, asking if he came back for another beating, or maybe to repent for sticking his nose in. I ask coldly if they really had to go that far. Zhang wonders if I have ever been beaten. I stand up and tell them I am here to show them an apostle battle they will never witness again. Zhang laughs mockingly, saying he has been in this business for 4 years and never seen one. He calls me a clueless kid. He wants his partner to teach me a lesson, but suddenly stops. Something is extremely wrong with the other cultist. I is frozen in fear. Standing in front of him is just an Earth-rank assassin whose name he cannot even remember. There is no armor, no weapon, only a holy bead in his hand. It seems full of openings, yet the cultist feels terror. Those eyes cannot belong to an Earth-rank brat. Zhang asks why he is frozen, mocking if he is scared. The cultist snaps out of it, cursing his own wild imagination. It is just a kid with scary eyes. He speaks up seriously. This industry has a strict rule. If a lower rank disrespects a senior, they can be executed on the spot. Watch closely here as he simulates the fight in his head. If he throws a book, the kid will raise his arm to block, leaving his ribs completely exposed. The kid will instinctively double over. But his ribs are just a distraction. His real target from the start was the kid's eyes. But in the next second, his own limbs fly off his body. He realizes too late that the holy bead is a deadly weapon. Then his head is sliced clean off. He suddenly snaps back to reality, clutching his neck in pure terror. Zhang asks what he is doing, but the cultist knows he cannot win. No matter how he simulates the fight, the result is instant death. In his mind, he has already died 1,000 times. Through hundreds of battles, he learned one thing. Even without moving, this man is an absolute monster. His killer instincts scream that he stands absolutely zero chance. This is not just an unbeatable presence. It is an existence far beyond his comprehension. Remembering he actually hurt this man earlier, he suddenly wishes he was dead. I stare calmly and raise my hand. He instantly panics, begging for forgiveness for what happened earlier today. But I only gently pat his cheek. I tell him calmly, sensing death is the most basic skill of an assassin. In that sense, senior, you are highly qualified. Back inside, Zhang demands to know why the kid was let go. The cultist snaps, telling him to shut up if he wants to live. Later, Qi Yuan asks why I went there. I is worried our plan is ruined. But think about it. Would a B-rank assassin ever admit losing to a D rank? It ruins their reputation completely. I asked Ji-Yuan if he would ever speak of such a defeat, leaving him completely speechless. He followed me out of worry only to get teased. I ride away on my motorcycle. The next day, our furious instructor screams that losing our licenses is like losing our lives. The Dugu brothers sweat in panic trying to invent excuses. They try to think of bad excuses when a deep voice calls out. The cultist has actually arrived, making the brothers panic. They ask if he is back for another duel, leaving him completely speechless. He asks if they are preparing for a rap battle. He is actually here to return their stolen licenses. The brothers are thrilled, calling him a good guy. But the cultist is only doing this because of Kim Soon-gu. That high school kid absolutely terrifies him. The brothers say goodbye, wanting to give Yuna her license, but she is missing. Inside the training hall, Yuna is desperately practicing her strikes. She was completely powerless against Park Sang-do and couldn't do anything. She could only watch helplessly. Furious at her own weakness, she knows her brother Yujin will soon be in grave danger. I ask what she is so ashamed of and hand back her license, but she refuses to accept it. I ask if this is about her brother, forcing herself to become an assassin just for him. Yuna angrily snaps that I know absolutely nothing about her. I admit I do not know everything, but I still know a few things. For example, that her brother is not biologically related. I ask her what happened between them back at the orphanage. Yujin always begged her to play, asking if they were family. But back then she hated that word. Ever since she was abandoned in a subway locker as a baby, she had no concept of family. She was saved and sent to an orphanage. You and I can easily understand why she refused to make any friends. She simply did not want to be abandoned again. She wanted to be left alone until a certain mission. She was shot during a job. The orphanage had no way to stop the bleeding and no blood bags. All right, you and I are about to witness a brutal reality. Glory Hospital was ready to throw away a penniless girl named Lee Yuna, who always believed having absolutely nothing was safer. A heartless frozen wasteland. To her, death felt like a sweet release. But then the teacher announced a miracle had occurred. And right after that miracle, her little brother Yujin vanished. Yuna learned from the other orphans that the kid was incredibly stubborn. The teacher tried to stop him, but there was no stopping his resolve. I would save his sister, even if it cost him his life. After endless blood draws, the weak boy only asked if his sister was still hurting. Yuna had always believed she was entirely alone in this world, never realizing a real family member was always watching over her from the shadows. She just could not comprehend why her little brother would sacrifice so much. Now Yujin relies on expensive blood medicine daily. The orphanage staff decided to halt his treatment and discard him like trash. In absolute desperation, Yuna threw herself at the doctor, begging for his life, pleading with them not to give up on Yujin. She claimed she was cured and could work to pay every single medical bill, no matter the cost, because she was his older sister. For the first time in her life, she had a real reason to survive. Even if they did not look alike, she would save her brother. Hearing this, I realized I had probably overstepped my bounds, so I turned to leave and let her train. Suddenly, she whispered that I was the strongest person she had ever seen, begging me to teach her how to fight. Fortunately, we were on the exact same page. She lacked physical strength, possessed a frail frame, was easily terrified, and had a terrible temper. Normally, these are the worst traits for an assassin. But pay attention here, she possessed the most legendary eyes. From our very first restaurant clash to my brutal battles against the Dokgo brothers and Park Sang-do, her gaze never once wavered. She watched intently, trying to absorb every single combat technique. You know how elite pro baseball batters can actually track a high-speed pitch? Seeing its exact trajectory, I can guarantee you that Yuna's dynamic vision is far superior to theirs. There was one specific weapon that could turn all her weaknesses into deadly strengths. I told her if she could master it, she would not even need a teacher to excel, because that tool would forge her into a true killer. Yuna stared doubtfully at the weapon, while elsewhere the Dokgo brothers were happily sniffing a pile of fresh cash. An official killer makes 1,000,001 weekly. They fantasized about how much an apostle makes, probably 10 times that. But I knew cash means absolutely nothing to an apostle, since they can get whatever they want anyway. Changing the subject, they realized they had not seen Yuna in forever. The brothers were convinced she was working a part-time job. Right now, she was probably scrubbing crime scenes, erasing all traces left by assassins, wiping away blood and corpses, and even scattered organs. The Dokgo brothers just could not understand why she pushed herself so hard when becoming an official killer, guaranteed easy money every single week without lifting a finger. I realized one person could not spend that much money alone. Let's pause for a second. This is where her brother's dark secret comes in. A hidden secret. Just then the Dokugo brothers got a text from Yuna, but they were utterly confused why she needed a warm scarf in mild spring weather, inside a freezing ice factory at -20 degrees. The irritated brothers demanded to know why they were in such a miserable spot. Yuna replied calmly that she was training. The brothers asked if she was practicing how to shatter blocks of ice with her bare hands. Frustrated, she showed them the weapon. This was the rope dart I had gifted her, a classic martial arts weapon designed to launch devastating attacks by throwing coiled rope. Its raw impact power is directly proportional to its high speed. Because it spins rapidly, when thrown, the destructive force is absolutely immense. But its single greatest strength is its absolute unpredictability. The target never knows when or where the blade will strike. The Dokgo brothers burst out laughing, mocking the weapon and saying she should just use a gun. Yet they had to admit it was deeply impressive after seeing her shatter thick ice instantly. Still, they insisted guns were far easier and delivered instant kills. Why waste time practicing this? But I had already explained to her, if you want to eliminate 5 targets with a pistol, you need 5 bullets. This weapon is different. A true master controlling its trajectory can wipe everyone out in a single sweep. The brothers watched in absolute shock as the massive ice blocks shattered. They immediately started whispering, planning to check online how much a rope dart costs. That evening, the ice rink owner, a rank 113th killer, asked if her training went smoothly. He had witnessed plenty of rookies come to his place to practice breaking ice. But it was his first time seeing someone pulverize the block completely. Yuna suddenly realized she had not paid for the ice, but the owner waved her off. He explained that 3 hours ago, a friend of hers had already stopped by, paid the entire bill, and left a whopping 1,000,001. He even left behind a special healing ointment for blisters on her hands. A moment later, Yuna left the ice factory, desperately wanting to thank Kim Soon-gu, but struggling to find the right words. Gathering her courage, she dialed his number directly. But when he answered, her thanks got completely tongue-tied, and she blurted out a question about today's school cafeteria menu instead. Flustered, she tried to hang up, but before she did, I congratulated her on obtaining a weapon that truly fit her. Nearby, the Dokgo brothers kept practicing with the rope dart, completely baffled why they could not replicate her curved trajectory. I knew she had been searching for her own unique power and weapon, but in reality, she had already held that strength in her hands from the very beginning. Meanwhile, in a dark chamber, a man screamed crazily, demanding they fight him because he was Park Sang-do. A cold voice replied that B-class and C-class killers stood 0 chance. To defeat an A-class powerhouse like him, they would need an apostle. A doctor in a lab coat approached the restraint-free naked warrior, leaving him completely stunned. The heavy kukri knife slipped from his hand, clattering to the floor. The doctor noted that Sang-do loved to gamble, proposing a wager with this near S-class killer. A simple wager on whether he could actually survive against a true apostle. In Sang-do's terror-stricken eyes was reflected the monstrous apostle Nathaniel. Back at the hospital, a little girl cried over a shot, making the Dokugo brothers scoff. Trust me, you and I know they still have a lot to learn. You and I are starting with these rookie assassins crying for anesthesia, while Yuna calls them idiots. Every killer has to undergo this rigorous checkup at the Glory Club's flagship Star Glory Hospital. They run every test imaginable, but the blood draw is what really worries me. It's their leash. Biometrics like DNA and fingerprints don't change even when you reverse age. If you run, they track you. They'll hunt you down, and sooner or later Glory will realize my new blood matches old Bardrow's DNA. That means my secret identity gets blown. That night I told G1 I won't just sit and wait. I'm going to blow up the entire hospital to wipe my files. G1 immediately calls me a lunatic. He screams that turning 20 made me reckless, asking if I even know what that place is. Of course I know. Star Glory is the Syndicate's massive crown jewel disguised as a normal medical facility. It's a secret haven that covers up assassinations, treats wounded killers, and hides bodies. But my DNA records are locked inside their high-security data center. G1 panics, asking if I know who's guarding it. He tells me it's Nathaniel. The man is a complete psycho, once praised as a genius doctor. Now look closely, because 4 years ago, this monster left a trail of pure horror behind him. A cop was returning to his precinct when he noticed something weird hanging outside the front gates. As he got closer, his heart stopped. Those weren't clothes hanging there. They were actual dead bodies. This gruesome scene brought in special forces. But what they discovered inside was even more terrifying. Every single gun was bent in half, like some beast tore through them with bare hands. Before they could react, a massive hand dragged a soldier into the dark, followed by sickening, bone-crushing sounds. Then, dead silence. Moonlight revealed bodies pinned to the ceiling as a massive shadow stepped forward. The monster muttered that he wanted stronger prey before the troops opened fire with everything. That night, an elite military squad and a legendary gang were completely wiped off the face of the earth. I doubted a human could bend steel, but G1 insisted the classified files were absolutely real. With that monster guarding the hospital, a frontal assault was suicide. We needed a smarter entry plan. Once we had a plan, I asked him for one simple favor that would shake the city. You're going to want to see this next move, because it's the ultimate declaration of war. A message gets hacked onto Glory's screens, announcing Bardrow will hit their facility on August 24th. The hacker worries this is too dangerous, but G1 knows my reckless nature all too well. In 50 years, I've never failed. Soon, low-rank assassins flood the hospital to hunt me down. These low-tier guards are just fodder. The real threat is Nathaniel's personal army of B-tier killers. With legendary S-class killers gathered, the fodder are hyped to witness an absolute titan clash. But they bet on Nathaniel, thinking old man Bardrow is nearly 70 and dying of cancer. Only the Dugu brothers root for Bardrow, making the other killers question whose side they're on. Deep down, many rookies secretly idolize the legend and hope he doesn't walk into this trap. His face is known, making escape impossible. Meanwhile, I'm standing right among them as rookie number 366. Nathaniel's elites give the order. If anyone spots Bardrow, they must not engage him directly. We're told to play nice, then use high-grade tranquilizers that can drop an elephant in 3 seconds. Just sound the alarm and let the S-class killers handle the rest. I listen carefully. It's pretty hilarious. I'm hunting myself. Well, get ready, because your favorite grandpa has arrived. Meanwhile, global elites hear of the challenge and begin doubting the new Glory boss's competence. An army general mocks the boss, saying if he can't catch a toothless tiger, he should quit. While other magnates watch in silence, the new boss just offers a cold, creepy apology. But then he suddenly grabs the general and slams his head deep into the water. I drowns him, asking if this old fool actually dared to look down on him. You and I just witnessed a complete psychopath, and now his showdown with Bardrow is finally underway. I snap a doctor's neck into place, making him sigh in relief. He has no idea who I am. All right, you and I are about to dive into a hunt where everyone is wearing a mask. Our main character casually asks around for a doctor named Na-Hyun-il. See the S-class. Apostle Nathaniel's real name is actually Na-Hyun-il. Our hero has to locate him, but absolutely nobody in this entire hospital seems to recognize that name. Did he get plastic surgery and change his identity to hide? It is highly likely. But one thing is absolutely certain. Nathaniel is lurking somewhere inside this building right now. It is a deadly race to see who locates the other first. Suddenly, a voice snaps him out of it. A fake patient, actually an assassin, asks him what he is doing. These are the Dugu brothers, and they urge him to hurry up and move. He asks about Yuna, but they proudly brag that she is only ranked 335. She is too low tier to be here. They tell him that as rank 336, he only got in because of them. Meanwhile, during some casual wandering, they have already searched the lobby. Seeing how weak he looks, they tell him to call them if he gets in trouble. Just then they spot someone who looks exactly like Bardro, eyes identical to the photo. Our hero is completely speechless. How on earth does this random old man look anything like the legendary assassin? But the brothers are totally respectful, whispering to the old man that they will escort him out. Suddenly, a disguised nurse assassin sneaks up behind our main character. She asks if he needs an injection. He just smiles, saying he is fine, while silently wondering if the hunt for his legendary persona has already kicked off. Every single elderly patient who matches Bardro's age group is getting their blood drawn under the guise of free checkups. They are looking for a DNA match. The Dugu brothers try to quietly lead their old target away, but suddenly someone bumps right into them. Dugu snaps, asking if they are blind, but then freezes. It is actually Yuna. She stutters, claiming she is only here because her brother is hospitalized, before running off. Dugu just laughs, feeling proud of his high rank. I think she was scared by his rank 333 authority, but our hero wonders why she is really here, while support over the earpiece warns him to focus. The voice in his ear tells him to stop worrying about the rookie. Instead, he asks how they are going to flush Nathaniel out. Now pay attention here, because this is where the real mind games begin. Both of them are searching for each other, but our hero must remain hidden as Kim Soon-gu. How can he draw the target out without blowing his high school disguise? Suddenly, Nathaniel's private guard barks a threat at him, warning him that slacking off means death. He acts polite and walks away. Then he whispers to his support that he has a plan. If the enemy won't show themselves, they will just have to bite the bait. It is time to make a move. He tells his handler to get ready because the real action is about to start in a matter of seconds. His support chuckles, glad their allies get to stretch their legs too. A moment later, he slips into the operating room. A B-class assassin immediately demands to know who he is. Our hero calmly claims he is the B-class assassin in charge of the surgery today. The thug tells him to get lost and search for Bardro, but he has another target. He calmly asks where Apostle Nathaniel is. The elite killer is baffled why a low-tier trash is asking about their boss. But our hero has a very simple response. There is only one reason an assassin looks for someone, and that is to kill them. The thug laughs, excited for a fight. But moments later, someone runs to the professor. He hands him a tablet showing the orthopedic operating room on the 3rd floor. Looking at the feed, Nathaniel smiles creepily and starts counting down the seconds. You and I both know how terrifying this is. In exactly 10 seconds, a high-ranking B-class assassin was completely wiped out. Nathaniel can't help but grin. He zooms in on the video and curses under his breath. The legendary killer has officially arrived. He instantly demands to know where Bardro went after this fight. The subordinate is sweating bullets. He explains that besides this clip, all security footage across the entire hospital is currently being wiped out in real time. Their hackers are completely powerless to stop it, and he begs for his life. But Nathaniel just smiles, noting that their powerful allies are also getting highly excited. He says he cannot wait to meet the legend himself. Elite killers like Grayson, Carter, Sawyer, and Robert are all waiting with the exact same burning anticipation. They are all eagerly anticipating his arrival. Nathaniel wonders if their special guest will enjoy the VIP seats he prepared. He is dying to start the show. He is desperate to unmask the legendary senior and tear him apart. But little does he know he has just swallowed our hero's bait, hook, line, and sinker. Even with all his guards, he was caught off guard. That fake video was just a hologram, perfectly recreating his old appearance using high-tech filters. With the bait successfully taken, the real hunter is ready to set his trap. Meanwhile, up on the rooftop, Yuna is biting into a piece of bread. She has no idea why a high-ranking executive like Nathaniel is targeting her. She panics, wondering if they found out about her helping the legendary killer. If she is caught, everyone around her will be in extreme danger. She realizes she must avoid Kim Soon-gu at all costs. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out. He asks her why they can't meet. Before she can panic, he grabs her shoulder and tells her to relax, claiming he is just here to grab lunch. He acts like a goofy, low-tier assassin who ordered way too much fried chicken. Since he cannot finish it all, he offers to share. There is still plenty of time, so he invites her to sit down and eat. But she knows that if they are spotted together, they are both dead meat. She has to turn him down. She looks at him with a serious face, telling him she won't eat with him, and demands that he leaves right now. He sighs, pointing out that she is already holding the chicken box. Blushing, she whispers she will leave after just one piece, but soon a pile of bones forms. After wiping the grease off her face, she asks him seriously. She demands to know the real reason he showed up at this highly dangerous hospital. She looks him in the eye, admitting she knows he has no reason to trust her, especially since they were enemies during their very first encounter. She knows he has a deep connection to the legendary Bardro. While she cannot help him find the old man, she needs to tell him something incredibly important. She apologizes, revealing that the old man was shot while trying to protect her. Her voice trembles as she admits that he might already be dead. So what do you and I make of this? A legendary master pretending to be dead? Or a rookie who has absolutely no idea she is eating with the god of murder himself? You and I are jumping right into a massive trap as Soon-gu asks Yuna if she was called here alone. If so, it means she definitely met Nathaniel. But as Yuna tries to explain, a freezing voice echoes from behind. Miss Yuna, running around without any guard. I believe I already warned you. That dangerous man is here, so stay in your room. And just like that, my target finally appears, the hospital director, Nathaniel. He demands to know who this man is while Yuna panics, knowing a clash between them would be devastating. I quickly bow and introduce myself as Kim Soon-gu, a low-rank assassin sent to join the hunt. Meeting an apostle is the ultimate honor. I promise I will bring you Bardro's head myself, so leave it to me. I keep up a fake, nervous smile. Nathaniel stares coldly in silence, then orders Yuna back to her room. After he leaves, I realize this S-class. Apostle is no joke. The hand I just shook is completely numb. Nathaniel asks his men for the profile of the person who captured Park Sang-do. His subordinate hands it over, but the documents slip right through his fingers and drop. The panicked assistant quickly apologizes, but Nathaniel knows the truth. It was no accident. His own hand went numb after shaking hands with that low-grade assassin, Soon-gu. Now he wants this strange kid kept close. He feels Soon-gu would make a perfect research subject. Now pay attention here. I call backup and laugh about how Nathaniel is desperately searching for Bardro, totally blind. Funny, you old maniac. If you get caught, we all die. I just hang up. I have no idea what an attendant does anyway, but I will find out soon. A doctor tells me a low rank like me just hit the jackpot, since the professor never takes attendance. He hands me an all-access keycard and explains the golden rules of serving him. First, never speak unless spoken to. Second, never question his actions. And third, absolutely never reject his grace. I wonder what on earth grace actually means. Seeing the doctor sweat makes me realize how dangerous this is. He urges me to hurry as the boss hates waiting. We enter, and the doctor introduces me. Nathaniel nods coldly, glad we are on time, and starts his patient rounds. This won't be easy. His personal guards are elite killers, each at least B rank, reeking of fresh blood. These foreigners do not serve Glory Club. They are fanatically loyal only to their king, Nathaniel himself. Under his orders, the entire hospital is on total lockdown, slowly closing the net on any intruders. They are even blood testing every elderly person here, though analyzing the results will take 48 hours. No matter how good a disguise is, you cannot fake your DNA. The doctor knows Bardro is trapped like a rat. You and I both know they have a solid plan, but Nathaniel is too smart to fall for cheap tricks. During rounds, he acts like a normal, caring doctor, discussing surgeries with perfect bedside manner. I know he has an agenda for keeping me close, so why waste time on this routine? Suddenly he turns to me, disappointed. Did you expect more, Apostle Granger? He chuckles, telling me to follow him, because he has something to show me. We head down a secret passage. No blueprint or map shows this hidden floor, and I have no idea what lies ahead. I get incredibly curious about his secret project. Soon enough we arrive, and he proudly smiles. He calls this the birthplace of his dream, but it is a horrific inhuman lab. He asks if I like biology. When I nod, he smiles, saying this makes things easier. He mentions Darwin's theory of natural selection, how evolution is driven by random natural adaptation. But then Nathaniel's face goes cold. Darwin was wrong, he says. True evolution is not decided by nature or random chance. It is decided by me, by my own hand. Instead of saving the sick, we must eliminate weakness and upgrade the strong. That is real healing. Then he looks at my face. Before he can finish, a piercing red alarm blares. A voice over the speaker warns that a test subject has escaped the ice cave. All researchers must lock down immediately. The subject has entered phase 4 of the experimental drug activation. It is in a blind, unstoppable rage. Even after taking multiple tranquilizer darts, its strength is unreal as exits close. At this speed, it will break out before the gates lock. But suddenly the wall shatters. Nathaniel grabs its neck right through the concrete. He mutters coldly. We were having a very important conversation. We cannot be interrupted by a mere beast. A sickening crunch of bones echoes, followed by absolute silence. Turning back to me, he says, now, where were we? I love power. I have sliced open, skinned, and studied every single muscle of the strongest fighters on Earth. Because there is one man I desperately want to surpass. And Kim Soon-gu, I see that incredible potential in you. Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Now, he says, accept my divine grace. Let's dive right back in, as Nathaniel boastfully offers to turn her into a god-tier apostle, leaving Ji-won completely stunned on the comms. He's extremely dangerous, literally punching through solid concrete walls. But what's even more terrifying is his inhuman sensory perception. I can detect tiny vibrations to flawlessly crush a test subject's skull. Terrified by the danger, Ji-won begs me to retreat immediately. But backing down is not an option. I am too curious about the source of his monstrous power. Ji-won sighs at my stubbornness. She warns me that my youthful blood will easily stand out during the elderly screening. I tell her not to worry. 48 hours have passed, and the blood test results are in his room. I will use this master keycard to swap them. Ji-won panics, asking what if I get caught, but I know that is impossible because of one simple reason. Timing is everything. It is exactly 2:53 p.m. Having shadowed Nathaniel, I know his exact clinical schedule down to the second. I have exactly 4 minutes and 30 seconds to complete the swap, while his checkups proceed business as usual. Everything goes according to plan. Nathaniel asks if the senior blood matches are ready, and his guard confirms they are in his room. But they found absolutely 0 matches to Bardro. Nathaniel frowns, knowing this outcome should be scientifically impossible. His guard wonders if Bardro is hiding in the ceiling, but Nathaniel tells him to use his imagination. What if Bardro changed? Now watch closely. Nathaniel suddenly corners me, demanding to know why a low-rank assassin is snooping around his private room. I was supposed to be busy for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds. In that split second, I realize I was set up. Everything he did, from offering me power to showing off his secret underground lab, was just a trap to bait me. He wanted me to think I was outsmarting him, while he suspected me from day one. My mind races for a countermove. I quickly put on a clueless smile, claiming I was just delivering an urgent file directly to him. I lie, saying Dr. Hong ordered me to bring it. But as I turn to leave, Nathaniel grabs my shoulder, pointing out the slightly ruffled pages. He demands to know why a clueless rookie is so interested in elderly blood samples. He asks what a kid like Kim Soon-gu could possibly be looking for hiding inside his private office. He says there is only one logical conclusion left. To save my skin, I cut him off with a deadpan theory. I argue that while a legendary assassin can fake his face and voice, he can never alter his DNA. You and I both know this is pure bluffing. But I act obsessed with catching Bardro to explain my snooping. I bow and apologize for acting without permission. By playing into his suspicion, I can turn the tables on him. Nathaniel tells me to stand up, wipe some dust off my face, and tells me to work hard without losing poise. I leave, and Nathaniel realizes the skin he touched was completely real. No mask, no makeup, just pure youthful skin. This completely eliminates Kim Soon-gu as a suspect. Frustrated, Nathaniel literally crushes his metal tablet into pieces. He curses, wondering where Bardro is hiding. Meanwhile, we see a gladiator champion famed for the world's deadliest kicks. Nathaniel challenged him, asking if he was truly the strongest, before brutally ripping the champion's head clean off. I did the same to the man, with the world's hardest fists, leaving him completely crippled after a clash. Entire top-tier syndicates were slaughtered, their bodies literally pinned to the ceiling. He crushed everyone in his path. Yet every dying warrior told him he could never be the strongest, while the legendary Bardro still lived. Sick of hearing that name, Nathaniel became obsessed with finding Bardro, determined to prove himself as the ultimate peak. To be the absolute strongest, he had to kill Bardro. And he knows someone who might know his location. He orders his men to bring her in. Soon, a high-ranking assassin named Santos tracks down Yuna. He commands her to see the professor immediately, leaving the surrounding trainees absolutely stunned by her sudden high-profile summons. Nathaniel notes that she is the only low-level assassin to ever survive an encounter with the terrifying Bardro. At first, he thought it was a fluke, but she survived a second deadly clash on the bridge as well. He demands to know how a weakling survived. Yuna tells herself to stay calm. He has zero proof. She decides to play dumb. But Nathaniel leans in, suggesting the apostles have a very different theory about her. They suspect that from the docks to the bridge, Bardro has been secretly protecting her this entire time. He wonders what an impoverished orphan girl with nothing to her name could have traded for his protection. He directly accuses her of being a double agent, cutting her off before she can even try to explain. Trust me, you and I are about to see this villain play his cruelest card, threatening her terminally ill brother. He details how agonizing the boy's final years of illness will be before offering a truly terrifying cure. All right, you and I are diving right into the heart of this intense assassin showdown. To save her brother, Nathaniel offers a 4.5 billion won serum that cures him in just one shot. A smart girl like Miss Yuna should know exactly who to side with now. He tells her that Bardro promised to show up on October 15th and commands her to make sure he does. All she has to do is lure Bardro to the hospital lobby's clock tower at 2 o'clock on the 15th for a little chat. Nathaniel cruelly reminds her that earning 4.5 billion won in 3 years is completely impossible. If she wants her brother alive, she must help him catch Bardro. He calls it a win-win deal. To start, Nathaniel calmly explains that he will write up a fake medical prescription, just to clear out a private space inside the hospital for her, before Yuna can even process what that means. Agonizing pain shoots through her arm. Nathaniel suddenly squeezes her wrist and completely crushes her bone, looking down at her with cold eyes. He whispers that in his hospital, healthy people are not allowed to be admitted. So if she dares to reject his generous offer, she will find out exactly who gets the next prescription, her sick little brother. Smiling, he leaves, saying he looks forward to hearing some very good news from her. Locked away in room 604. Yuna is terrified. If Nathaniel ever discovers that it was Kim Soon-gu who had been helping her all this time, then everyone, herself, her little brother, and Soon-gu will end up dead. But if she plays her cards right, Yujin might actually survive. Trapped in an impossible choice, she breaks down. Just then, a voice calls out for the patient in room 604. Soon-gu walks in with a grin, announcing it is time for her shot. Yuna panics, asking if he has lost his mind. He casually explains he only snuck in because the national singing contest is on television. Annoyed, Yuna asks if this is a joke, making Soon-gu wonder why she always tries to push him away. He asks if she is scared of Nathaniel. Then, noticing her cast, he frowns. As her teacher, he does not remember breaking his own student's arm and demands to know what happened. She looks down, her eyes filled with sorrow. Instead of answering, she quietly asks him what his plans are for October 15th, trying to hide the truth. Now watch this part closely. She tells him to be at the clock tower at 2 o'clock on the 15th, pretending she just wants to talk. This is her desperate attempt to save him. Looking at her broken arm and fearful eyes, Soon-gu easily pieces the truth together, but simply agrees anyway. Later, Yuna's tears drip onto a photo of her and her little brother. She whispers to the picture, asking if betraying her friend was right, knowing it was her only choice. Soon, October 15th arrives, a day Nathaniel has eagerly anticipated for weeks. Today is the exact day the legendary Bardro promised to show up. Nathaniel can barely contain his twisted excitement to finally face him. He turns to Yuna and asks where their guest is. After a tense silence, she mutters that he should be on his way. The clock hands slowly tick closer to 2 o'clock. Staring at the clock, Yuna is lost in her memories. She remembers her little brother calling her the other night, excitedly asking if she finally got herself some boyfriends. She laughed, explaining they were just friends. Eugene eagerly told her he wanted to play soccer with them and dream of going to see the International Cup games in 3 years. She promised she would take him no matter what, but the sweet boy hesitated and suddenly changed his mind, saying he does not want to go anymore. He claimed he hates flying on planes, but she knew the truth. He was just worried that the tickets were far too expensive for them to afford. Yuna told him to stop worrying about money and just get ready for the trip. She assured him that she found a way and that a miraculous new drug would cure him completely. One injection is all it takes, so he cannot give up. Fighting through the agonizing pain of her broken arm, she quickly said goodnight and hung up. With her back against the wall, this was her only option. She silently prayed, hoping that Sungu would actually listen to her warning. Now you and I both know something is off. The clock ticks past 2, and Nathaniel's creepy smile vanishes. He coldly demands to know why Bardro has not showed up yet. While Nathaniel waited in the hospital lobby, Sungu was actually standing under a clock tower in a quiet public park. He wonders why Yuna specifically told him to meet there. Yuna knew that if Nathaniel found out, Sungu was the legendary assassin, and not some old man, Sungu would become his prime target. With the entire hospital crawling with Nathaniel's armed guards, it is a suicide mission. No matter how strong Sungu is, she desperately hoped he would just stay far away. Even though she had been highly suspicious of this mysterious high schooler, since the day they met, he was the only one who truly cared. For the first time in her life, she learned how wonderful it felt to share a simple meal with someone. She experienced what it meant to rely on someone in a crisis. Sungu was the first person to actually look at her potential and try to help her grow. There was no way she could betray him. Standing before Nathaniel, her voice shakes as she lies, claiming she has not seen the old man since their last encounter. She begs for forgiveness, admitting she only lied because she desperately needed the serum for her brother. Dropping to her knees, she begs him, promising she will do absolutely anything. She promises to clean train or do whatever he wants, as long as he spares her little brother. Nathaniel just sighs, looking down at her with pity. Since she failed to deliver Bardro, she is of no use to him. He calmly decides it is time to eliminate her, just as he declares her completely useless. A loud fire alarm suddenly blares through the speakers, ordering all staff and patients to remain calm and evacuate immediately. The Dokugo brothers join the stampede of people rushing outside. But suddenly, all the hospital's emergency exits slam shut, leaving the brothers locked out and highly confused. Inside, a massive crowd remains trapped. Nathaniel grows suspicious, noticing there is no smell of smoke, and orders his men to investigate. Yuna wonders where a fire could have suddenly started, but then a voice suddenly speaks through the hospital's intercom, asking why she is crying. You and I both know who that is. Yuna gasps as Sungu asks if they did not agree to meet right by the clock tower. He points out that if there was a real fire, normal patients would have fled, yet none of these people have moved a single inch. This proves they are not real doctors or patients at all. They are armed assassins, waiting for this perfect opportunity to kill him. Nathaniel is confused, wondering who this kid thinks he is. He smiles and asks if Sungu actually came to rescue Yuna all by himself. All right, you and I are about to see why Sungu is no ordinary target. Standing here is the elite of Sea City's funerary club. In these brutal slums, kids rarely survive to adulthood. With people dying every single day, this place is known as the Village of Funerary Corpses. The only law is survival of the fittest. It is filled with kidnapping, drugs, and illegal trade. Controlling every dark industry, the Funerary Club became the nation's strongest syndicate. And standing right here today are the 100 strongest survivors from that hell. Nathaniel asks, "Well, Mr. Sungu, do you have the confidence to take them all on?" As I said, I see raw potential in you. You're a tiger cub. If you grow under my care, you will surely become the invincible ultimate ruler. But you can't beat a real beast yet. So stop playing childish friendship games, submit to me, and I will train you well. I didn't say a word, only shrugged. Nathaniel instantly understood what that meant. 2 B-class assassins from the club leaped down shouting mockingly, "You won't last long, you little tiger cub." But in an instant, the 2 cocky killers stopped breathing completely. This shocks everyone. Nathaniel never expected Kim Sungu to defeat attackers from above without even hitting their vitals directly. I look up and ask, "Nathaniel, how about now? Do you still see me as a tiger cub?" Nathaniel knows exactly how long it takes for a human to die. If a vein is severed, it takes 1 minute and 12 seconds. An artery takes 40 seconds. But if the carotid artery is cut, it only takes 12 seconds. Watch closely as 100 killers swarm him. Can Sungu really survive 100 minutes of this against them? Facing the massive wave of killers rushing in, my expression doesn't change. None of these guys are a match for me. They're too weak, but there are just too many of them. Yuna panics, realizing I'm getting cornered. Even seeing their allies die, they keep charging in. The killers sneer, "A sheltered kid like you will never understand that surviving is just a daily routine for us." Nathaniel watches calmly, saying, "Sungu, you are fast, but is dodging constantly, really fighting. Besides, you have nowhere left to hide. What's your plan now? No retreat behind and dozens of killers in front. How will you cope, Anon?" I mutter, "Man, there are really a lot of them. What should I do? Actually, this is perfect." I open a nearby fire cabinet, leaving the killers wondering what I'm doing. I pull out the fire hose and blast them with high-pressure water. Smiling, I say, "Surprised already? How can you be surprised? I haven't even started." Suddenly, the water cuts off with a loud rattle. "Guess this stupid game is over." Nathaniel praises me. "Clever, Mr. Sungu. But you can't kill people with water." I scoff. "Didn't I tell you?" I haven't started yet now for the main event. Massive electric currents course through the wet floor, shocking the killers. In a flash, a whole crowd of assassins collapses. Nathaniel claps in awe. "Mr. Sungu, you really are amazing." He realizes getting cornered was just to use the hose, and the water was a setup for the manual defibrillator. Sungu is getting more fascinating by the second. Nathaniel corrects his math. Since taking down 100 men takes 100 minutes, and half are dead, you need another hour. You and I both know he's underestimated me. I have a better plan. I scribble on a clipboard and toss it in front of them. The killers look at it completely confused. What does this mean? I mock them. You guys are wearing doctor coats yet. You can't read a simple diagnosis. Carotid artery rupture leading to fatal blood loss. That is how all of you die. By the time the assassins realize this, it's already too late. This man is a monster. Yuna had heard legends about the world's strongest man, Bardro. But he seemed like a much more ordinary old man, even if he fought with everything he had. He didn't look like the legendary figure who once wiped out 1,000 men alone. At that moment, Yuna thought the rumors were fake. But if there was even a 1 in a million chance, they were true. She believed he would look exactly like the young man standing before her right now. Nathaniel couldn't help but laugh out loud. I exclaims in excitement, "Mr. Sungu, you're incredible. You actually wiped out 100 killers in just 13 minutes. I say calmly. "Sorry, I'm not done yet. You're still breathing, right? Choose, do I come up or do you come down?" Before I can finish, he leaps. Nathaniel lands and says in a low voice, "Does this answer your question, Mr. Sungu?" He really is curious how someone so young can be this insanely strong. Who are you, a foreign assassin? But your age makes no sense. I interrupt him. You know, people who lack confidence talk way too much. Nathaniel chuckles. I think you need to learn the difference between confidence and arrogance. Nathaniel's fist suddenly flashes right before my face. I manage to block it, but the sheer impact sends me flying back. Shocked by this monstrous power, I quickly land and stabilize myself. Is he even human? Yuna knows Sun Gu is in deep trouble. Taking out those 100 men exhausted him, and at this rate Sun Gu will lose. Nathaniel laughs. Tired already, Sun Gu. The show is just beginning. Trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Let's dive into this fight, as my body suddenly feels heavy, while the maniacal Nathaniel screams that he absolutely won't let me get away from him. He completely ignores me, and I am shocked that Nathaniel can easily fling me away with just one single hand. I have never felt this kind of terrifying strength from any human being before. Where in the world does his insane power even come from? Lee Yuna worries that Nathaniel is too unnaturally strong, and Sun Gu might die. But right at that moment, she notices the elevator is rapidly going down. As the elevator rapidly plummets, Nathaniel coldly tells me that since I am so good at escaping fighting inside a tiny enclosed space like this, means I will have absolutely nowhere left to run away from him. His judgment is spot on, because this cramped elevator definitely limits my ability to dodge. Nathaniel mockingly tells me not to lose heart, asking where all that confident energy I had just a moment ago went. He mocks me, asking how I am any different from all the other trash. Suddenly, heavy punches slam against the elevator walls with deafening clangs, leaving massive dents as the metal begins to warp and tear apart. The heavy steel cables suddenly snap, and the elevator plummets in a free fall, before violently crashing into the very bottom floor in a cloud of dust. Now pay attention here. As the dust slowly clears, Nathaniel has so many questions. He says he clearly invited the legendary killer Bardro today, so why did a kid like me show up instead? What exactly is your connection to Bardro, Mr. Sun Gu? Why are you staying so quiet? Could it be that you are already dead? Well, that would make sense. After all, absolutely nobody survives a fight against me. I never hold back, but the more I think about it, the more annoyed I get. Your face is completely untouched, which means you actually managed to dodge every single one of my savage attacks in that tight space. A cramped space like that could not hold you back at all. I casually apologized to him, saying it was my mistake, because fighting him was just so boring that I accidentally fell asleep. You just said you never hold back, right? Got it. Let's do this again. Come on, because I'm about to get serious too. Nathaniel suddenly charges at me, and I know he is using his absolute full power now. Our fists clash violently. Watching through the security monitors, the hacker asks Ji-won if she is worried since Kim Sun-gu seems to be at a major disadvantage right now. This reminds her of an interesting story from 55 years ago. The ruthless assassin instructor asked the first batch of children who managed to survive the orphanage what they believed was the ultimate source of true, unstoppable strength. Every child had a different answer. Some said it was a technique that could defeat any opponent, while others believed it was having an incredibly powerful physique. Now you and I both know Bardro is different. While he stays silent, the instructor tells them none of their answers count and challenges them to shatter a massive boulder if they are truly elite survivors. The other kids immediately think this task is completely impossible, claiming that shattering a massive rock of that size is simply not something a human being can do. But then they notice young Bardro wrapping a worn-out leather strap around a tree to practice. They laugh at him, mocking that he could hit it for 100 days and still achieve absolutely nothing. Yet Bardro keeps punching it from sunrise to sunset day after day, while the other kids do nothing but mock him for wasting his time on a stupid tree. They complain that he skipped their regular training for 2 whole months and still did not break the massive boulder. However, the instructor only focuses on Bardro, which makes the other kids incredibly jealous. Suddenly, a girl gasps and points into the distance. The boys who were just laughing turn around, and their jaws drop in pure terror as they see what is really happening. That boulder was actually brand new, and the pile of shattered rocks behind him were all broken by Bardro. Back in the present, Nathaniel locks eyes with me, asking if I actually know the true limits of human strength. He brags that the strongest human weightlifters on Earth are only capable of lifting a maximum of 524 kilograms with all their might. Even those physical monsters could never hope to defeat me. But wait, what on earth is going on, Mr. Sungu? Are you sure you are even a human being? Could this really be the power of a blessed person? I simply ask him in return. Have you ever been run over by a speeding car? He looks confused, wondering why I would ask that. I calmly explain that my hand chop is going to hurt a lot more. With a massive impact, Nathaniel is sent flying. He cannot comprehend what is happening or what kind of monster could possibly hit him this hard. How can any human possibly deliver a blow like this? I quickly channel all my remaining energy into a devastating high-speed hand chop, slamming it directly onto his skull and knocking him completely cold. The hacker cheers in excitement, thinking we won. Nathaniel crashed right into a thick, armored research tank, so there is no way he survived that. But suddenly the monitor shows he is still moving, and even I am left completely confused. He slowly stands up, calmly asking me if I am puzzled about how he is still breathing right now, and why the very hand I used to strike him is now covered in bleeding, painful wounds. He reminds me of his absolute belief that the path of human evolution is entirely up to him. He tells me I will be his first test subject before ripping off his shirt. I stare in absolute horror, wondering what kind of unspeakable things this madman has done to his own flesh. Nathaniel proudly boasts about his incredible evolutionary breakthrough. While some rely on raw talent, he was a weak, sickly doctor who used advanced biotech to reconstruct himself into a flawless, perfect human weapon. I am completely speechless, seeing the terrifying, bizarre modifications that this absolute monster has forced upon his own physical body. He proudly looks at me and asks if I have ever heard of the biological term anti-fragility. He explains that if my attacks cannot kill him outright, I am in big trouble. Any pain I inflict on him will only make him infinitely stronger. He explains that muscles naturally grow tougher as they tear and heal. And he has taken that exact concept to a whole new level. He has developed a specialized drug that dramatically speeds up his recovery time, meaning the more times he gets hit during battle, the stronger his body becomes. He asks if I understand what that means. Basically, my chances of winning are, your chances of winning are exactly 0. He grabs me and slams me violently into the concrete floor. As the dust slowly clears, he laughs, boasting that absolutely nobody has ever survived once he gets his hands on them. Yet I somehow escaped, prompting him to offer a mock congratulation. Inside, however, he is completely panicking because he knows he had a firm grip on my throat just a second ago. Yet in a mere fraction of a second, I managed to jam my hand in to create a tiny gap and break free. In that absolute blink of an eye, I made a life-or-death decision. I reacted perfectly to protect my neck and dodge his lethal blow. Nathaniel is left stunned, unable to believe a human can possess such insane reaction speed. Even though I escaped, just a light graze left my hand feeling pierced by a nail. Trust me, you and I are about to see a whole new level of pain. Trust me, you and I are about to witness the most intense clash between two complete monsters. Mr. Sungu, your stats and power are way beyond any regular ranked assassin, but you still can't win because I'm evolving. Beg me like a dog right now. I'll show mercy and make you my ultimate masterpiece. Sungu slowly raises his hands. The hacker panics, wanting to abandon him, while Nathaniel laughs, saying he always knew Sungu was different. Drop everything and join my new path. I will fulfill your deepest desire for ultimate strength. Confused Nathaniel asks what he's doing. Sungu replies that disobedient kids just need a good beating. Furious, Nathaniel snaps. Both charge and Sungu's fists relentlessly bury deep into the doctor's stomach. Jiwan asks what's happening, but the hacker says this doesn't even look human anymore. Nathaniel admits. Sungu is a beast unlike anyone else, but his own evolution isn't stopping. This is his first truly thrilling fight. He wonders just how invincible his body can get, but a mystery remains. Sungu is strong, but there is something else hiding beneath his stats. Watch closely here. This is where the mind games actually begin between these two. Where does he get the balls to look so unfazed? There can only be one answer. Even if you beg now, I will dissect you completely from every bone to every single cell. Too bad the last thing you see will be my fist. On monitor, the backup screams. But Soon Gu just calmly asks if his power comes from unnaturally accelerating his muscle recovery. I was waiting for him to reach his peak when those bloated muscles crush his own nerves. Once that happens, he can't move. Nathaniel was too focused on the fight to notice. His own body is locking up. Yet this kid figured out the weakness in 10 minutes. Soon Gu smiles, telling the apostle that his little game is officially over. Nathaniel refuses to believe it. He killed so many and suffered so much for this power. I went through absolute hell and popped so many drugs to turn himself into the perfect human being. Is he really going to die here? Laughing like a psycho, he opens his trump card. This drug literally melts his muscles, but it turns him into an absolute god. But get this, you and I both know a desperate psycho is the most dangerous. He swears to drag Soon Gu to hell with him, unleashing a wave of terrifying energy. Soon Gu readies himself for the final clash against an apostle burning his own life away. Yet even at his absolute limit, Soon Gu reads every single move like a book. To Nathaniel, it feels like fighting a god. He finally realizes what was so off. This kid's power completely shatters any limit or tier they could ever put on him. He's looking at a towering, unbreakable wall that no normal human can ever hope to cross. Where did a kid get experience like this? It's like the unreachable godly level of that one legend, the legendary god of murder, Bardro. Back in 2003, a young boy made an oath. He solemnly swore to dedicate his life to serving humanity, saving lives with honor and pure integrity. He would never to use his knowledge to harm. Everyone was amazed by his genius. That young student was Hyun-il-na, the youngest medical genius in the history of the school. But he wasn't happy. Back on Christmas 1994, he was just a sick kid. An elder told him weakness meant God chose him. But why would God choose weakness? Then a TV show explained how lobsters shed their shells to grow bigger and stronger. That concept of self-evolution stuck with him. He wondered if this was his divine purpose. Why couldn't humans evolve like animals? He decided he would be the first to do it. Flash forward to 2012. A serial killer is rushed to the hospital with gunshot wounds. Everyone praised Na as a true hero for saving him, but he found their praise bizarre. So what do you and I make of this guy's twisted version of absolute justice? Stick with me, we are about to watch Nathaniel face a body so powerful, his heart pounded. He had never seen a physique this strong, wondering how this man even got it. He needed to know how this body differed from his own. Nathaniel was so obsessed, he wanted to dissect him immediately. His racing heart pounded, warning him that he was a doctor who could not do this. But then he realized precisely, because he is a doctor, it is his duty to protect humanity and guide our evolution. Countless wild ideas flashed through Nathaniel's mind. Just moments ago, he was supposed to be performing a simple suture surgery, but when he snapped back to reality, the chest was already cut wide open. Terrified, Nathaniel turned and fled, ending up with absolutely nothing and hiding away in South America. The reason he chose that place was because it offered countless test subjects. He would experiment, analyze the results, and then slaughter the strong just to prove his own growth. He slowly perfected every single one of his weaknesses, eventually birthing a new self without relying on his parents' DNA. I became a new breed of human, the great Nathaniel. His life should have been legendary, but now he lies there like a dead dog, completely crushed. As a genius doctor, he knows his spine is totally shattered and his muscles have melted. Nathaniel is so broken he cannot even wiggle a single finger. I is utterly paralyzed. I warn him not to move, or death will only come faster. Nathaniel desperately begs, asking me to tell him just one thing. Saying he sacrificed 30 years of blood, sweat, and tears just to become strong, enduring endless agony. But you, Mr. Kim Soon Gu, what kind of effort did you even put in? I cannot accept this defeat. Watch closely, because my response is about to shatter his worldview. I calmly tell him I understand his obsession, but as for me, I have survived like this for 65 years. Nathaniel stares in utter shock, his mouth repeatedly muttering 65 years. He finally sees the shadow of the ultimate warrior he always dreamed of. Nathaniel smiles weakly. Even though your body has mysteries no doctor can ever explain, I am glad I finally got to meet you before I die. Bardro. With that, Nathaniel slowly closes his eyes forever. The chaotic battle at Glory Hospital finally comes to an end, including Nathaniel. The massive army of killers is entirely wiped out. Every piece of data about Glory's assassins inside the hospital is wiped clean, but some things still remain. On the ride back to school, the Dokugo brothers curiously ask me a question. Should we be promoted to C rank now? Covered in casts and bandages, they are still putting on a dramatic show. Despite running away the second the fight started, they brag excitedly about how they valiantly battled those elite giant killers. Seeing that Yuna stays silent, they assume she agrees with them. I glance over at Yuna. Even though things were successfully resolved and she should be happy, she cannot bring herself to smile. Nathaniel had promised her he could cure her sick brother using a specialized serum worth 4.5 billion, one developed by the genius doctor himself. I calmly ask her, Yuna, are you feeling down because of your little brother? She quickly makes an excuse, claiming she is just missing the school cafeteria food since it has been days. She knows the serum is gone, so stressing is useless. But look, you and I both know our main character always has a backup plan. I encourage her, telling her she will find another way. Yuna mutters a soft thank you, completely lost in thought, as our car finally arrives back at school. The older Dokugo brother sighs that nothing beats the smell of home. The younger is confused since they never left. I tell them to stop chatting, then turn to Yuna, asking if she wants this bag, saying Woojin might really like it. Yuna freezes, completely shocked that I even know his name. Confused, she opens the box. Suddenly her eyes fill with tears. Her voice trembles as she asks, Sungu, how did you get this? I reply, calmly telling her that luckily Nathaniel did not actually manage to destroy the serum. Yuna stands there speechless, completely overwhelmed with emotion. All she knows is that her brother is finally going to live. Meanwhile, back at Glory Hospital, a minion reports the lockdown situation to the big boss. What happened here did not spread to the outside world. Looking at the sheer destruction, the subordinate still cannot believe this was caused by mere humans. The boss coldly asks if it was Bardro. The subordinate confirms that security cameras caught his face clear as day. The boss then asks if anyone actually saw him. Did no one witness him in person? Was there no footage of him entering or leaving? Sweating bullets, the subordinate stammers that it was like dealing with a ghost. Suddenly, a freezing voice cuts in, asking if he just said ghost. The terrified man tries to explain, but then screams in agony, as if a real demon just appeared before him. Goosebumps break out all over his body. The newcomer steps forward, demanding how he dares speak of Bardro like a ghost in his presence. He ruthlessly kills the man, then asks the boss if he is mad about losing a pawn. The boss just smiles, saying he doesn't mind at all. The killer sneers. Nathaniel dying before the new apostles could even finish training is pathetic. It looks like he will have to teach Bardro a lesson himself. After all, Bardro is known as the ghost of the underworld, the world's strongest assassin. After crushing that modified freak, he heads back to school where the assassin class is about to face their very first assignment. Can you believe it's actually volunteer work? Turns out to earn enough school club points, they must do real community service. The Dokugo brothers immediately start whining, wanting missions worthy of actual assassins. Suddenly a gentle voice asks if they are the students here to volunteer. The brothers glance at the beautiful girl, and the very next second, they completely flip, passionately diving headfirst into pulling weeds. They brag about their massive volunteer experience, but she frantically stops them, shouting that those are actually flowers they are ripping out. Yuna sighs, realizing these two idiots are beyond saving, and I totally agree. Still, she cannot understand why the teacher dragged them all the way out here. This isn't an indoor job. They are 500 kilometers away from the city. Honestly, even the teacher has no clue, but the official document was clear. We must not cause trouble or expose our cover. I tell Yuna there is a reason for this. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see what happens next. Let us jump right back into this crazy story, where Yuna notices Kim Soon-gu looking surprisingly down today, just as a friendly security guard welcomes them to Only School. He proudly tells them that since their school is the only one on this entire island, they named it Only School. Right after he gets completely cracked up by his own terrible dad joke and starts laughing hysterically. But the fun ends instantly when two nasty-looking thugs show up to demand their weekly protection money. The guard begs them for mercy, pleading that the school is too broke to pay up and asks them to accept a special peace offering instead. Turns out it is just a basket full of potatoes. Enraged, the thugs instantly kick the poor old guard to the ground, making teacher Yijin furious. She begs them to leave them alone, since they only survive on small government funds. But one thug just smirks, suggesting that a pretty lady like her has plenty of other ways to earn some quick cash. Suddenly, a loud voice warns them that a man is supposed to use his hands to protect women, not hurt them. But before Soon-gu can even finish his heroic speech, a heavy fist slams right into his face as the thug laughs. Soon-gu barely feels it, wondering if a mosquito just bit him. But since he cannot cause trouble and blow his cover, he has to let them beat him senseless. Even when teacher Yijin tries to help him, Soon-gu stubbornly tells her she should be worrying about the thug's bruised knuckles instead. Watching this, the bruised guard sighs over letting the kids suffer. But as I watched them, I felt proud of their growth. Now pay attention here, because normally, when Soon-gu faced any enemy, he only cared about crushing them. To me, a person who can suppress their rage when needed is the one who is truly strong. Soon-gu was a total mess today, but he proved his strength. Later that night, under a brilliant starry sky, a worried Yuna sits alone on a swing. She thinks about the priceless serum Soon-gu got for her sick brother. She knows she should thank him, but she is too shy. That is when I walk up and ask if she is missing her brother. Startled, she nervously snaps at me for always sneaking up on her out of nowhere. But she quickly realizes that this is the perfect moment to say thank you. But before she can speak, I actually apologize to her first, because I know what happened back at the hospital. She was forced to lure me to the clock tower, yet she tried to warn me instead. I know she must have been absolutely terrified, but she still risked everything to protect me. That kind of bravery is honestly incredible. Blushing Yuna quietly mumbles that it was really no big deal. But she admits she is incredibly curious about one thing. She has never seen anyone as strong as me, especially since I defeated Nathaniel. She asks if I am related to the legendary Bardro. I do not give her an answer, simply promising to explain everything when the time is right. Suddenly she gathers her courage and whispers a quiet thank you. Pretending I did not hear, I tease her and ask her to repeat it. Blushing harder, she whispers it again. When I play dumb, she snaps and screams her thanks. I tell her to calm down, but she furiously yells that I did it on purpose. She warns me to watch my back, calling me a weirdo. I can only smile helplessly. It is clear that both Soon-gu and Yuna have grown up a lot. Since things are mostly settled, it is time for me to head where I belong. I walk to the school building alone, noticing only the equipment room is still lit. Now watch closely, because as I offer the guard help, he cracks another joke. But as I turned, his voice suddenly drops, calling my act completely pathetic. He tells me he has smelled blood for decades and asks if I really thought my clumsy acting could ever hide that scent. He notes that the smell of blood on me is especially heavy. I reply that volunteering was just my perfect cover story. My real goal for coming to this island was to find Simon, one of the legendary 12 Apostles of Glory. He is the ultimate swordsman who once ruled the entire world, known to everyone as the legendary Lu-Sen sword. Saint Simon just smirked, noting that I had clearly done my homework. He tells me I must know my life is about to end. He claims that everyone always leaves a tiny flaw after swinging their sword. A single opening is all an opponent needs to strike back. But Simon is shocked when I completely read his movements, leaving absolutely zero openings. Even a loaded gun cannot compete with Simon's blade. In the blink of an eye, he corners me using a simple piece of bamboo to completely lock down my next move. I smile and praise him as the world's greatest swordsman, the Apostle Simon. Simon tells me to relax, explaining that there are only 2 people in this world he could not kill within 10 moves, and I am one of them. I knows that even the most elite masters of disguise can never truly hide their deepest habits. My stance, tone, and breathing are perfectly masked. At first, he thought the rumors were a total joke and completely impossible. But this quick exchange of blows confirmed everything for him. Simon drops his weapon and kneels, paying his deepest respects to his senior brother Bardro. He missed me greatly. But after hearing my insane explanation, he is absolutely stunned. He jokes that he wants to visit the amusement park where my rebirth happened. He points out my youth and my cool hair. I tell him I woke up like this, but seeing him well brings me relief. I truly deserves his title as the legendary Luoxian Sword Saint. Even with his age, his power is still absolutely unmatched. He gets a bit embarrassed, joking that sweeping floors for years made him rusty, and credits his strength to my teachings. But he wonders why I would come to this forgotten island. I simply ask him if he heard about Nathaniel at Glory Hospital. Shocked, Simon asks if I was the one behind it. When I nod, he asks what my true motive was. I tell him my goal is to wipe out Glory entirely. Simon warns me it is suicide, but begs to join the fight. I tell him to stick to sweeping, asking if he wants to throw away his cover. Trust me, their journey is just beginning. Stick with me, Simon is looking down, confessing he still dreams of that horrific night, wishing he wasn't forced to live in hiding. And that little punk wouldn't be riding so high. Even if it cost me my life, I should have fought him to the bitter end. Right, big brother? Our father, Gabriel, founded the Glory Orphanage 60 years ago. He handpicked 12 orphans, including myself, to undergo the ultimate test. From that day, surviving the brutal wilderness became our normal. We fought tooth and nail, treated worse than wild beasts just to stay alive, undergoing hellish training and subhuman treatment. The 12 of us who endured became the apostles, trained as the nation's deadliest secret agents. Eventually, Glory and the 12 apostles grew powerful enough to shake the entire world. But then an event occurred that changed our lives forever. The priest adopted a mysterious boy and brought him in. As he grew, his greed for the crown consumed him until he finally stole the throne. Simon wanted to rip him apart in absolute rage. But as his older brother, I stopped him. It wasn't the right time. We had to endure. Once that monster seized power, Glory collapsed into a filthy, blood-soaked syndicate. Back then, I was completely powerless to stop it. But now, I have the ultimate weapon, my youth. Just watch, Simon. I am going to tear down his corrupt empire with my own 2 hands. Meanwhile, the Dugu brothers are totally baffled. Usually, hard work pays off, right? But even though they did all the heavy lifting, why are the kids only crying to see Kim Sungugo? Teacher Yishin was actually worried some local thugs would cause trouble during their departure. But don't blink, because the brothers secretly visited those punks last night and gave them a terrifying warning. They warned those scumbags that if they ever showed their faces again, they'd get a taste of an elite trainee assassin's true power. Teacher Yishin is totally confused by their weird mumbling, but he is genuinely grateful to the volunteers for bringing joy to the children. The security guard starts cracking his awful jokes again as they say their goodbyes. Simon quietly reminds his brother that he is always on call. As an apostle, Simon promises to run to his side the instant trouble strikes. I thank him and tell him to stay safe. Late at night, tension grips the quiet island as thunder cracks over the school. Simon frowns, sensing unexpected guests approaching through the storm. These intruders definitely aren't here for volunteer work. Simon asks if they're looking for someone in this godforsaken place, but they just sneer. The leader laughs. So this is where you've been hiding. Simon, the legendary first sword of the 12 apostles, the Spiral Sword Saint. Simon sizes up the sword-wielding woman and the massive bear-like man beside her. He realizes she is a high-ranking killer from the New Glory. They call her the Sword Ghost, the Empire's top blade. She is surprised the old man knows her, but Simon just asks if she is here to steal his title. Sword Ghost laughs, claiming she only cares about the massive bounty on his head. Simon chuckles, apologizing because she won't be collecting a single penny. Simon mocks her. You made one huge mistake. Who dared to claim I am merely the Empire's top sword? Hearing this, sword ghost gets excited. This long trip was definitely worth it. Simon smiles, promising he never mistreats his guests. Sword ghost snarls, then let's see who dies tonight. Now you and I are about to witness the ultimate clash between the legendary sword saint and this cocky newcomer. Their blades clash in a blinding storm of steel. Sword ghost sneers, expecting a challenge from the legendary saint, but finds him shockingly weak. Simon just laughs it off, admitting his skills are a bit rusty from peace. In my prime, kid, your head would already be rolling. She tells him to stop bluffing, but Simon knows she is incredibly fast. Plus, that silent giant standing nearby is a massive threat. To survive a 2-on-1 fight, he needs open ground. Clashing blades again. Simon jokes about charging her for any damage to the school. Sword ghost scoffs, reminding him he'll be dead anyway. Using the force of her impact, Simon suddenly catapults himself out of the building. Realizing the crafty old man tricked her, she chases after him. Her partner asks if the heavy rain will be an issue, but she just grins. She claims Simon is already dead. Sprinting through the storm, Simon realizes her weapon isn't a normal sword at all. It's a jagged saw. Even shallow grazes from those jagged teeth leave deep, brutal wounds. But worse, Simon senses they are hiding their true trump card. Cornered at the edge of a steep cliff, Simon surprisingly starts smiling. Sword ghost sneers at his choice of a scenic graveyard. Simon calmly asks if they know why he's called the Spiral Sword Saint. Annoyed sword ghost tells him to shut up and die, but the giant behind her senses an overwhelming danger and warns her to back off. Simon's aura begins to shift, becoming dead silent. He whispers that experience is the best teacher. In an instant, the rain, the wind, and the entire world fall completely silent around them. Before sword ghost can even react, a thin line of blood appears on her neck. Simon's strikes are a relentless, beautiful flow. The giant watches in horror, recognizing the decades of mastery refined through millions of battles. It is the ultimate sword style. With a final flash, the legendary sword ghost is sliced to ribbons. Simon turns his blade toward the giant, ready for round 2. The giant calmly commends his incredible skill, admitting Simon would be an unstoppable monster if he hadn't grown rusty with age. He declares it's already too late. Simon scoffs, thinking they've already lost, but a sudden wave of dread washes over him. Looking down, a massive gushing wound has torn open his stomach. He has absolutely no memory of when he was hit, and as Simon stands there, bleeding in sheer shock, you and I are left wondering, how does this fight even end? All right, you and I are about to watch Simon completely lose his mind as he wonders if he is seeing a real ghost. But then he snaps out of it, realizing the perfume was actually a hallucinogen. He sneers at the cheap trick, calling it a minor test. Simon claims he is fully prepared. Having studied hundreds of thousands of targets, if his eyes deceive him, he will just fight blind. These moves have been repeated millions of times, making sight utterly useless. With a blinding strike, he unleashes the legendary sword ghost path. Even watching it again, the giant brute is stunned that this technique could break the legendary Luoxian sword saint. As Simon wildly swings his blade in the pouring rain, the sword ghost chuckles. He knows Simon can't hear him, but he still boasts. The name ghost is meant literally. Meanwhile, back at school, the Dugu brothers are depressed, wondering if love is always this painful. Their teacher has completely stopped replying, even though she used to answer every single text they sent. After sending one bizarre photo yesterday, she went completely silent. Desperate, the brothers ask Lee Yuna for a woman's advice on what to do. Recognizing Simon's handwriting on that strange note, I immediately call Ji-won. Within hours, the three of us are heading back to the island. While Ji-won wonders what we are searching for, I stumble upon a box and a photo. Inside the box lies Simon's severed arm. Pay attention here, as I wonder if leaving him behind caused this tragedy. A pair of dark eyes watches us from the shadows. The spy reports back to the sword ghost, confirming a target, resembling an old man accompanied by a woman, a dog, and a youth. Before the spy can find the youth, I appear behind him and coldly demand his phone. He gasps, unable to process my terrifying speed. Cornered, he hands over the phone. I demand to know if the person on the line is Glory Club's new Simon. Realizing she is speaking to Bardro, she is thrilled. I have no idea why this ghost acts so insanely confident. I deliver a chilling warning. Keep Simon safe or prepare to face a brutal, agonizing death at the hands of a real demon. As our speedboat tears across the ocean, Jiwan asks if I know where we are heading. He warns me of the danger. Across all 5 oceans, there is only one ship with no registered name. No tracking number, no crew list. A true ghost ship. And that is exactly where Simon is being held hostage. No one knows where the sword ghost came from. But his legacy is clear. If Glory rules the Empire, then they rule the underworld. They are the Ghost Blade-style assassins who ruled for a millennium. Their most legendary tale involves a massive massacre. The strongest Kanto syndicate, the Taiga group, vanished overnight during their boss's massive 60th birthday banquet. 2,000 guests were slaughtered by just 2 men. But why call it a disappearance instead of a massacre? You and I both know a slaughter happened. But get this. Despite a 2 versus 2,000 war, not a single body was found. The Imperial Police immediately issued wanted warrants. But the 2 killers vanished, like actual ghosts, leaving absolutely no trace. Years later, they re-emerged to become the new Simon of Glory. To me, their dangerous nest does not matter at all. What matters is making every single bastard pay for what they did to my brother. And I am not going in alone. Dressed in janitor uniforms. The Dugu brothers complain that they want to be bodyguards. I already told them to stay back. I warned them that this mission is lethal, but they just shrug it off, acting like tough guys. They claim death is just a final badge of honor. Suddenly, a voice asks if I like the speedboat. I am infiltrating this ghost ship as the personal bodyguard of Chairman Choi Un-chung, head of a massive weapons company. Even a billionaire like him gets nervous here. This ship smuggles everything from illegal weapons and drugs to priceless black market art. They even traffic human beings. Anything money can buy is sold here to the ultra-rich. Even Choi needs special clearance to step foot on board. According to our tracking, we are closing in on the ghost ship. I wonder what kind of monster this sword ghost really is. I cannot wait to meet him, crush his ego and show him who the real demon is. Inside a luxury cabin, an arrogant politician smashes a heavy ashtray over a waiter's head. Simon enters wearing a fake smile, asking what made him so angry. She invites him to her room to settle it. He screams back, claiming his powerful corporate status gives him the right to ruin her. He threatens to throw her into the ocean. Simon just smiles, suggesting they sit down and enjoy a drink together. She spikes his drink to make him sleep. Suddenly his vision blurs and his entire body begins to shake uncontrollably. With a cold smirk, she watches him collapse, ordering her guards to dump him into the ocean. Her giant subordinate asks if Bardro will really show up. She knows he will. Having accepted her severed arm gift, the old legend has no choice but to walk straight into her trap. She plans to collect the bounty on his head. Meanwhile, the Dugu brothers are absolutely stunned by the sheer luxury on board. Surrounded by wealthy elites who throw cash around like trash, they feel completely out of place. But trust me, you and I are going to enjoy watching them try to blend in as janitors in this snake pit. All right, you and I are starting with a wealthy VIP handing a $100 tip to our boys, making them dream of getting rich without fighting. The Dokugo brothers immediately fantasize about getting rich by stealing, so they never have to fight again as fake Simon welcomes everyone from the stage. Before starting, she wants to introduce a special item. Watching them, I realize their description matches the note left by Simon. It all clicks. This woman is Glory Club's new fake Simon. And now she begins her speech, introducing the main auction item, Podalong. It is a deadly liquid that can kill hundreds of thousands in just 2 minutes. But something about her feels off. She does not look like someone who could defeat the real Simon. Below, a wealthy VIP recognizes the chemical once abandoned for being too dangerous. They wonder how she got her hands on the Podalong. A silent killer that is quieter than a bullet, but far more painful than any bomb. An old man in the crowd is shaking with rage. He is the country's top weapons dealer and she stole that podalong straight from him. Furious, he orders his men to bring that ugly woman to him, but a massive brute steps in, blocking his bodyguards with a warning. The bodyguards ignore the warning and march right up to the stage, coldly threatening the fake Simon to come with them quietly. Simon just sneers, mocking their dull senses. Within seconds, both bodyguards collapse to the floor, screaming in absolute agony. I watch in shock as the two men literally begin to melt. It hits me the brute earlier merely touched their faces with his hands. Now don't blink, because this gets crazier. Simon casually apologizes for the little incident, announcing the auction starts tomorrow night. The starting bid is $200 million. She adds that while she wanted to keep a secret tonight, she has changed her mind. To please the crowd, she reveals they have a highly special mystery item that will blow everyone's minds tomorrow. The wealthy VIPs instantly grow curious, begging to know what it is. But Simon smiles, telling them they will have to wait until tomorrow. They leave full of anticipation, expecting something even deadlier than the chemical weapon. Meanwhile, I wonder where the real Simon is hidden. As the hall empties, the fake Simon wonders if the legendary Bardro was in the crowd. Well, tomorrow she will find out. Chairman Choi Eun-chang prepares to head over to the banquet hall. He warns me that this woman is extremely dangerous. No matter how powerful these global VIPs are on this ghost ship, they obey her. She is the most ruthless person Choi has ever met. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Chairman Choi from behind. It is Simon, mocking him for ignoring her past invitations until the poison showed up. She invites the old chairman to join her for dinner, but when Choi tries to decline, she snaps, telling him to stop. Damn, refusing her. Choi's heart races in panic, but I step in, shoving her away. I calmly tell her we will dine next time since the chairman is unwell. If you really need company, I can join you instead. As I walk away with Choi, she thinks I am a pretty cute kid. Can you believe her nerve? She stops us, saying she needs a dinner date, adding that I should loosen my belt because it will take a while. A dinner with her takes a long time. This toxic gas is the most terrifying military secret of the former Soviet Union. The gas she commands can wipe out hundreds of thousands in 2 minutes. And the woman wielding it is a total psychopath. Now she is inviting me to dinner, and her strong perfume begins to cloud my mind. She sneers, knowing men always lose their senses around her. They go completely blank, not even realizing they are dying. But suddenly the Dokgo brothers interrupt, excitedly offering their cleaning services. Their sudden interruption snaps me out of her trance. Simon just smiles, telling me I have got pretty good luck tonight. She walks away with her giant bodyguard. I realize I was almost brainwashed. Worse, the Dokgo brothers are still talking to empty air, completely hypnotized. Shortly after, Viper takes a bath, wondering how exciting the legendary Bardro really is. After all, he is a true monster. The man wiped out an army of 100 elite killers and made Apostle Nathaniel vanish completely. Her giant bodyguard is skeptical. I doubt a dying 70-year-old could pull that off against a fully unleashed apostle. Besides, this ship is different from the hospital. The ship has radar so disguised or not the old man cannot be on board. It must be an imposter mimicking Bardro. Viper just chuckles. She hints that they still have a secret trump card. Meanwhile, I disguise myself as a waiter, recalling a past conversation with Simon. He told me that even though we are not blood-related, I am his only family. He said if we die, he would go first. He begged me not to get hurt. But I reminded him of our promise. Until that promise is fulfilled, I will not die. I told him to drink less and stay healthy. Simon is my brother, my family. I will do whatever it takes to save him, even if I must slaughter thousands. I will bring him back. As the first auction begins, I sneak through the distracted security forces. My sole mission is to find where Simon is hidden. Suddenly, 2 guards block my path, demanding to know who I am. I try to brush them off, but they stop me, coldly noting that there are absolutely no Asian waiters allowed on this cruise ship. Suspecting I am the intruder, they try to capture me. But their sharp pirate instincts only end up getting them killed. I move on. I search everywhere, from the kitchens to the hot boiler rooms. But there is still no trace of Simon on this massive ship. There is only one place left to search: the auction stage. Trust me, you and I know a massive clash is coming next. As the bidding hits 1.5 million, you and I are here for the main event, the final item. It is the ultimate prize, a one-of-a-kind treasure, the former legendary blade of the Glory Club. The Apostle Simon, once the world's greatest swordsman. The crowd knows his name, but they only see a broken, lifeless corpse. Ghost gleefully calls out for Bardro to show himself, knowing he can lure him out anyway. Because anyone watching this will either be completely shocked or burning with rage. The hall erupts in pure chaos. A henchman whispers, asking if he found him. Ghost grunts, but he still cannot spot exactly where Bardro is. He felt that terrifying killing intent, clear as day. It vanished quickly, but he knows Bardro cannot hold back. The bidding starts at $10 million. Ghost laughs, knowing the Sword Saint dies right here if nobody buys. But buying him means walking straight into a death trap. I know Simon is just bait to lure me out. I do not have $10 million anyway. Bidding now would immediately blow my cover and expose my identity. But if I use brute force, there are too many watchers around. In this situation, saving him seems impossible. Ghost sneers, calling it a joke, that an apostle once worth more than a missile is now completely unwanted. He mocks Simon for being damaged goods with only one arm. If nobody bids, he will execute him on 5. He counts down 4, 3, 2 until a deep voice suddenly bids $20 million. I turn around in shock. President Choi calmly bids $20 million in pure cash. Ghost is baffled. Why is Choi ruining his plans like this? Now pay attention here. Choi is the boss's trusted man, yet his hand is shaking as the hammer falls. Ghost realizes Choi has been keeping secrets. Choi turns to me and whispers, asking if this was my target. I nod, but worry this action puts the president in danger. He just smiles, telling me not to worry. He explains his family history with Glory makes the bid believable. Still, I know we are in a tight spot. If we let Simon go, he dies. But buying him puts a massive target on us, which is exactly what Ghost wanted. Escape seems impossible now, but I reassure him that I have already prepared a trump card for this very moment. Sneaking into a dark corner, my secret help arrives, the Goofy Doogoo brothers. They act tough, asking what I want. They ask how long I will do odd jobs, promising to make me rich. I ask them what their goal was. Wasn't their ultimate goal to become elite assassins, like Bardro? The brothers freeze, realizing how off track they got. Earning $15 million in 3 days blinded them. Sure, cleaning pays well, but it won't make them legendary killers. They ask what I need. I tell them this ship is incredibly dangerous, but they are the only ones who can solve it because they have scrubbed every single corner of this vessel. They smugly brag about their knowledge. You might be wondering how cleaners can help, but trust me, their unique skills are exactly what we need. Later I check on Simon, who is still out cold. I remember a conversation we had when we were young. He wished his school uniform was real, wanting to pack a lunch, carry a backpack, and just blend in. I told him he was dreaming killers like us do not go to school. Simon just smiled it off, saying bloody hands have no right to hold pens. But I stopped him and suggested we build our own. A school for homeless, parentless kids with nothing left, giving them a place to finally learn and grow. I promised him he could study there and I would buy all his books. Simon just stared at me. He stubbornly insisted on buying his own. Looking at his missing arm, I urge him to wake up now. We had a promise to keep. Outside, President Choi listens silently, while Ghost is absolutely furious back at base. He hates Choi and cannot understand how he is connected to the Sword Saint, screaming at the interference. He orders his giant henchmen to decapitate Choi and display his head on the deck of this cruise ship. The giant warns him that Choi is a powerful chairman. Ghost violently slaps a nearby waiter in cold fury. He declares himself the king of this ship. He commands his men to hunt down Choi and Simon immediately. Killing them will force Bardro out. Back in the room, a knock sounds. I tell Choi dinner has arrived. Choi wonders why there is only one plate. I explain that my steak was cold and sent back. Choi sighs, realizing he has completely offended the organization. I serve him tea to pass the time. Promising to return before his tea gets cold, I step outside and open a door where the guards. And trust me, you and I are about to witness a bloodbath before that cup of tea even cools down. Let's dive into this madness, where our legendary assassin complains that his tea is 75 degrees instead of 60. Talk about bad service. So this garbage heap doesn't deserve to be called a luxury cruise. The boss sneers, "Kid, you don't get the situation here. 10 gun-toting shooters are surrounding you. But you plan to fight us with those 2 pepper shakers? You are just a measly bodyguard." But our main character just sighs. "You guys are clueless. Come at me, and I will show you how deadly pepper can be." Facing 10 armed professional killers, he doesn't even blink as he pulls out 2 pepper shakers. A true master turns any household item into a weapon, and he has zero cover to hide behind. The pirate leader cannot comprehend where this insane confidence comes from. Considering the kid is completely cornered, what can anyone do with 2 pepper shakers against automatic rifles? But then a cold realization hits the boss's mind. Our main character smirks. Too scared to pull the trigger, gunfights are highly overrated. Sometimes a simple plastic lid is deadlier than lead. He charges right into the firing line. Before they can react, he slams a lid directly into a mercenary's temple, ending him on the spot. The boss is left wondering if this monster is even human. But our hero already knew their weakness. They cannot shoot. The logic is simple. When you surround a moving target in a tight circle, pulling the trigger is suicidal. Why? Now watch closely, because this is where his real show begins. Even simple table pepper is a lethal weapon. He crushes the bottles, unleashing a blinding cloud of stinging spice. The mercenaries gasp and clutch their eyes. This is his cue. The thugs spray their weapons in blind panic, having no clue where he is. If they had drawn blades instead of guns, they might have survived a few seconds longer. Meanwhile, back at the command room, a panicked goon rushes in with terrible news. The squad sent to assassinate Choi Yun-chang has been wiped out. These were Sword Demon's elite, hand-picked assassins from Great Britain. There is only one explanation for this total annihilation. The legendary old monster Bardro is backing Choi Yun-chang from the shadows. Suddenly, the radio crackles again. Bardro has just been spotted in the restaurant. Sword Demon is baffled. Why isn't he guarding Choi? Now the pool, the control room, and even the casino are reporting Bardro sightings. He is everywhere. The boiler room and the east lobby too. Sword Demon loses his mind. How can one old man be in 10 places at once? He screams at his men to find the truth. Who is destroying my cruise? Meanwhile, across the entire ship, the elite bodyguards of the wealthy VIPs are turning on Sword Demon's crew. This massive riot is actually the work of the Dokgo brothers. To them, these rich cruise VIPs are precious high-paying clients, so Bardro fed them some intel. He warned them that yesterday, Sword Demon's people slaughtered the VIP's private bodyguards. They even kidnapped a VIP who is still missing. This means Sword Demon's organization plans to wipe out every single billionaire on board. You and I both know these brothers love money. So hearing someone is targeting VIPs makes them furious. Time for a special mission. Since they are cleaners, they can roam the ship freely. While pretend sweeping, they quietly whisper a terrifying rumor to the guests. They whisper about how the cruise owner plans to execute all the billionaires. And just like that, the wealthy guests overhear everything. The older brother puts on a massive show, whispering, "Shh, don't tell the VIPs. If the boss finds out we are dead." Panicked, the billionaires immediately summon their private security. Meanwhile, Bardro tells the Dokgo brothers to wait for his signal. Suddenly, gunshots echo. The wealthy guests realize the rumors are true. They are being targeted. The brothers get their signal to move. They scream at the top of their lungs that some crazy old man is fighting the crew, letting everyone know Bardro has arrived. Word spreads fast, reaching Sword Demon. The billionaire guests are completely paranoid, now refusing to trust any ship staff. In a fit of pure rage, Sword Demon smashes a heavy glass ashtray directly over his subordinate's skull, swinging it repeatedly. "How dare that old mole ruin my beautiful ship? I will kill you, Bardro." Chun-sung, his massive bodyguard, steps up, offering to capture him. He promises to drag Bardro back. Sword Demon just smiles warmly, telling his loyal follower that there is no need to step in. Moles live in the dark. He has a much easier way to flush this one out. Just trust me and follow my lead, Chun Sung. Since the mole is hiding deep inside the tunnels, why not just pump in some toxic gas to choke him out? He unleashes a purple mist that can easily wipe out 200,000 people. I watch in absolute shock as the gas spreads. That absolute psycho actually released Podolon. Anyone who inhales this lethal mist will drop dead within minutes. I have to move fast. I need to get everyone from the lower decks to safety immediately. But time is running out. If this purple cloud spreads, everyone on this ship will die, including the innocent passengers who trusted me. But there is one thing Sword Demon forgot about me. I have survived this exact gas countless times. Podolon poisoning turns your hair white, floods your eyes with blood, and causes you to violently cough up blood until you die. But the true danger isn't the poison. It's the absolute mass panic. Trapped people lose all rationality. If I want to save these terrified passengers, I must force them all onto the open deck. The only option left is to ring the fire alarm or use the PA system. Trust me, you'll want to see how he pulls this off. All right, you and I are jumping right back in. Remember, there are absolutely no alarms or intercoms on this entire ghost ship. Shouting to evacuate everyone is impossible. And worst of all, our sleeping friend who has no idea what is happening is in serious danger. Things are looking terrible, and the only path to my room is completely blocked by the crowd. But then something totally unexpected happens right ahead. The chairman bursts out carrying Simon on his back. He asks if I know how great Xia became the absolute strongest. Simple, they never abandon any useful talent. He tells Sungu that his tea is still warm, so he will hold the line. It is time for Sungu to go do his job. It is wild how fast time flies, turning little kids into reliable adults. I tell the old man that I will be back before he knows it. Un Chang screams at Sungu to stop because he is running straight toward the poison gas. The chairman has no idea what our hero is planning as he leaps into hell without a second thought. Reason says stop him, but deep down, the chairman is already hoping for a miracle. If anyone can pull this off, it is him. Just like the legendary Bardro from years ago. Meanwhile, Jiao Kengui is raising a glass to toast his guaranteed victory. He thinks Bardro, the wealthy guests, and Luoxian have been completely melted. He only worries if the boss will recognize the bodies. Suddenly, the massive chandelier above begins to sway. Both villains feel a sudden weightlessness. Now pay attention here. This is where the real chaos begins. 5 minutes earlier, I reached the main control room. I know these massive vessels rely on giant ballast tanks to keep their balance in the ocean. If you empty one side of these tanks all at once, the balance shatters. The entire ship will immediately tilt to one side. Remember, this ship has no working alarms or intercoms. For a crowd drowning in pure panic, standard announcements are completely useless anyway. The best warning is a physical wake-up call. Run upstairs or die. It is pure survival instinct at play. As everyone rushes up, the heavy poison gas sinks down. This buys them precious time. Now I must end Hyungai before the ship levels out. But there is a major problem with the crowd. They found the exit doors to the deck, but anyone trying to escape gets immediately shot down. Shingao's thugs are executing people in cold blood. The exit doors are locked tight, and that deadly poison gas is creeping up right behind them. On the other side of the door, a massive guard listens to the rich guests begging for their lives. He always hated these wealthy snobs anyway. Boom, a massive fist indent punches straight through the heavy metal. The door is blasted open as a loud voice roars a savage compliment to the door. Meet Dugu Dai, an assassin whose entire specialty is raw, monstrous physical strength and brutal hand-to-hand combat. Thanks to him, most of the guests escape. Watching from above, Jiangui looks on coldly. Suddenly, a henchman rushes in with some news. He reports that Bardro was spotted at the auction. Jiangui sneers. If the old man wants to die, he will gladly kill him personally. Shingai wonders what fragrance would suit Bardro's death. Nothing comes to mind until he remembers a deadly concoction that no one can escape. Jiangai grabs every single bottle of his deadly poison. Back at the auction stage, a lone figure waits. Soon the heavy doors swing open. Jianguai enters knowing Bardro is connected to Yunchang. You and I both know a massive clash is coming. But wait, why is this guy standing here instead of Bardro? The old man speaks up. He asks Jiangui if he truly believed he defeated the legendary sword Saint Luoshen. He tells him to stop dreaming. A weakling like Jiangui is nowhere near that level. He promises to show him the absolute peak strength of the legendary sword saint. Luoshen was famous worldwide, yet in his old age, he lost an arm to this young Jiangui. Now the sword saint's master is seeking vengeance. He will show him what the peak era looked like. Jiangui laughs it off as crazy talk, but his giant bodyguard starts sweating bullets. He can literally see the terrifying phantom of the true sword saint standing right there. This old man is extremely dangerous. He begs his master to let him fight first, but Jiangui coldly snaps at him to back off. The guard knows he cannot stop him. That cold stare is identical to the day he slaughtered 2,000 souls. Nobody expected the 1,000-year-old ghost dagger gate to fall in a single night. Driven by pure hatred, Jiangai trained like a demon to avenge her family. Finally, the day of revenge arrived. Her targets mocked her, saying swords were completely outdated. They laughed, asking if the famous ghost blades could possibly outrun a bullet. The leader instantly recognized Jiangui as the only daughter of the gate leader. She looked exactly like her mother, and the villains sneered. The vile man mocked her, making disgusting comments about her mother. He couldn't wait to see if she would break just like her. Jiangui angrily promised to make him suffer a slow death. The villain laughed, boasting he would send her to join her dead mother. In a flash, Jiangui completely vanished. The villain suddenly wondered why he was looking at his own headless body as his head rolled onto the floor. All 2,000 gang members who met her gaze that night died. Back in the present, Jiangui slides off her shoes. It seems she is shedding weight. With her shoes off, her speed will be absolutely insane. But can someone really reach the S-class rank of apostle just by being fast? The old man speaks coldly. He explains that the title of Young Gui is only given to the ultimate heir of their ancient clan. Her true ultimate weapon is something even the sword saint never witnessed. Trust me, you and I are about to see something truly historic. Before he even finishes speaking, Jiangui vanishes. She moves so fast, the human eye cannot track her, delivering blows packed with devastating physical power. Jiangui sneers, mocking men for thinking that speed sacrifices power. That fatal mistake is exactly why her enemies stick with me. You and I are about to see this crazy clash where Peter realizes Sword Ghost's slippers aren't actually meant to reduce her weight. It's because she's wearing ghost feet, her soles are literally covered in sharp nails. She uses her insane speed and the sheer impact force to generate massive power. This multiplies her strike's power dozens of times over. Seeing this, the giant realizes he was worried for nothing. Peter can't even react to her attacks. Her speed is unreal, and she completely vanishes after striking, leaving Peter absolutely zero room to counterattack. Yet the giant still can't shake this weird feeling about what's actually happening right now. Peter is clearly on the defensive, yet he hasn't shown a single trace of defeat. Sword Ghost mocks him coldly, asking if he's ever going to show off his legendary spiral style in this lifetime. Her movements are a blur of blinding after images. It honestly makes me feel like I'm fighting a dozen opponents at the exact same time. The giant is baffled. If Peter can't even hit back, why does this fight keep dragging on? He's just reading her movements calmly, dodging every single blow at the very last second. Suddenly, the word observing makes the giant freeze. He realizes Peter is actively analyzing her attacks. He can see every single blow, but yet he isn't counterattacking. Something is seriously wrong. The giant shouts for his master to stop, warning her that Peter is dangerous, but she kicks him away, screaming at him to shut up. Get your hands off me. I notice her breathing is already getting ragged, so I mockingly suggest she call for backup now. She might be fast, but compared to the real sword saint, I know she's a total joke. I ask her if she knows the phrase, an ugly copycat trying to mimic a master. Hearing this, she absolutely loses her mind. She vanishes instantly, hell-bent on ripping my mouth apart. The giant can't even move to stop her. It reminds me of years ago when Simon admitted how small he felt after seeing the world. He realized he was just a frog in a well, hoping that one day he'd become as powerful as his big brother, the ultimate swordsman. Back then I told Simon he was already incredibly strong. After all, he created a lethal, unstoppable technique that no one dared underestimate, the spiral palm. Back in the present, our clash ends. I calmly ask Sword Ghost if she's curious how I blocked every single one of her strikes. That trick where she stomps the ground to launch herself forward at insane speed and power, yeah. It's incredibly deadly, but it has one massive fatal weakness that ruins the entire thing. She absolutely needs a starting point of leverage. By simply watching where she plants her foot, I can easily predict her exact trajectory. So I just held my blade right along her path. And just like that, her arm was cleanly severed. Sword Ghost stares in absolute horror, refusing to believe. To believe her arm is gone. The giant rushes over to tend to his bleeding master, but she furiously screams at him to break the bottle. Break the perfume bottle. Honestly, she was faster and stronger than I expected. But she made one fatal mistake. She completely underestimated the strength of the spiral sword saint, meaning Simon himself. She glares at me viciously, vowing to rip me apart, when suddenly the ceiling explodes. A familiar scent fills the air, and I instantly realize what this is. It's the mind-controlling perfume she used before. She smirks, maliciously telling me my life is officially over, and there's no escape. Even if the legendary Bardro himself showed up, he couldn't survive this. The mist covers every corner, leaving absolutely no escape. She laughs at my stumbling steps, mocking me for being just as helpless as Simon was against her poison. I'm completely at her mercy now, unable to do a single thing. Even Bardro would pass out from this. But pay attention here. This is where everything flips as she gasps in shock. My body stops stumbling completely. I grip my blade tight because I already knew she'd try to use poison again. Did she seriously think I wouldn't prepare for this? She snaps, challenging me to see just how long I can hold my breath. I calmly splash high-proof alcohol onto my blade. Honestly, I was waiting for her to use that perfume all along. It's the only way to show arrogant cowards who hide behind cheap illusions how truly pathetic they are. Her jaw drops as she realizes the mist is highly flammable, meaning every single drop of it is ready to blow. The giant's eyes widen as he finally connects the dots. The giant realizes I saw through her trick from the start. She sneers, claiming a tiny spark can't burn away a room full of mist, but trust me, she has no idea what's coming next. I calmly reply, exactly. That's why I'm burning this entire place to the ground. Instantly, the floor erupts into a sea of fire, leaving her in absolute shock. The giant realizes they've been utterly played. The bottle I shattered earlier wasn't to slow them down with glass. It was to cover the entire floor in alcohol. It was a setup. She screams, cursing my name as she lunges forward in desperation. But without her severed arm, her balance is completely shot. Her speed and power plummet to almost nothing as she struggles just to stay upright. She has officially pushed her broken body past its absolute limits, and she can't hold on anymore. Suddenly, she staggers. But before I can finish her off, the giant steps in and knocks her unconscious. Just honestly, a very smart move. He scoops her up calmly, telling me I miscalculated. Instead of fighting, he turns and runs to escape with his master. He recalls his deal with the boss of Glory Club, bring back Bardro's head, and they'd finally be allowed to go home. The boss asked what they'd do next. Are you trying to revive the Ghost Sword sect or start a new faction? You won't even answer me. The secrets of the Ghost Sword are endless, which is highly entertaining. Even though my plan succeeded, some unsettling questions remain. I never expected the Ghost Sword sect to be involved in all of this. Ji-Wan once told me she was no ordinary killer, rising to lead the Ghost Sword sect at a young age after slaughtering hundreds. But still, how did she become one of the apostles? They were supposedly irreplaceable elites chosen from the old Glory orphanage. In fact, intelligence agencies worldwide agree that the apostles are far more valuable than the Ghost Sword sect. Something doesn't add up. Sword Ghost was tough, but she was nowhere near the level of a real apostle. Comparing their data, her skills are garbage compared to Simon's. Why would someone as meticulous as Gabriel recruit someone so weak to replace a former legend? Jaiwan refuses to believe it, knowing a massive conspiracy is at play. And you and I are going to find out exactly what it is. Let's dive in. Ji-won was desperate to find out how that woman became Apostle Simon, and she was absolutely right. She hacked every file and finally uncovered the truth of how Yuika became Simon. But the result just didn't make any sense. What did the Ghost Blade clan even do standing in the flames? Asked him calmly. Why do you live as Yuika's shadow? There is no reason to commit such evil. This was Kageo, the true Apostle Simon from Japan's elite Ghost Blade clan. He stared at me and growled coldly. In this business, the curious die fast. I smiled and complimented his motto, but honestly, besides Kageo being the actual apostle, I knew absolutely nothing about him. A true shadow. I wish I had intel like I did on Nathaniel. Right now, I can't even read his style. The crushing weight of his presence is insane. Kageo demanded, you are not Choi Eun-chang's bodyguard. Who are you, and what are you to Bardro? He is a total mystery. I wanted to tell Kageo the truth, but hey, in this line of work, the curious really do die fast. As the strongest assassin of Glory, Bardro is now facing an enemy with zero formal training, but unbelievable raw talent. They traded testing blows, and I quickly leapt back to create space. I just don't understand what's happening. Kageo's movements are completely bizarre. I've never seen anyone fight like this before. Now pay attention, because his stance has zero defense and is full of massive, clumsy openings. It's like he never trained a day in his life, relying entirely on raw animal instincts carved into his bones. He dodges fatal attacks from impossible angles without even looking. This is pure, absolute genius, but that's what makes it baffling. How can an apostle of his caliber have no refined martial arts? His insane, leaping, unpredictable strikes and chaotic pattern prove only one thing to me. Kageo thought he is strong, but that's it. Then I told him, your combat efficiency is too low for your talent. You never learned to fight, did you? Or rather, you couldn't. Why hide behind Yuika all this time? What is suppressing you? Kageo stayed silent. Years ago, a beast slaughtered the Sekino clan. Even the Ghost Blade struggled, so Kageo cleared it alone. Their leader realized Kageo was a terrifying genius, but also a major threat. He wished Kageo carried their blood. Out of everyone he had ever met, Kageo was a born killing machine. His men asked if they should eliminate him. The leader just asked, have you heard of the flea? It can jump 1 meter, which is 200 times its own height. And I know what you're thinking, once trapped in a jar, it never tries to jump higher again. The leader placed a mental ceiling over Kageo. He could never leap over his master. I asked him, you've been trapped your whole life, helpless without a master. Kageo barked, you talk too much. Do you fight with your mouth? Honestly, the more I watch him, the more amazed I am. His moves are reckless, but highly creative. No training needed. Because no matter who he faced, he never felt in danger. He isn't a normal beast, but an apex predator ripping throats on instinct. But there's more. Kageo is still hiding something. Kageo was tense due to my overwhelming pressure, but now he could see everything. My attack patterns were simple, repeatedly targeting his legs. He realized I was trying to trap his feet, but he dodged every single snare. Kageo planned to turn my trap against me. The moment I lunged again, he would pretend to fall for it, lower my guard, and rip my throat out. But suddenly Kageo froze. The man completely vanished. Thick iron chains wrapped around Kageo, instantly hoisting him into the air. He had no idea when he was captured. It finally clicked. He had been completely outsmarted. I had set this trap long before he even noticed. I knew that relying on pure instinct, Kageo had never lost. So I forced him to overthink under pressure. He has never had to use his brain in a fight before. But while he was busy thinking, he walked straight into the real snare. I told him not to struggle. Even a chainsaw can't cut these. Kageo roared. Not yet, Steel claws shot from his sleeves, unpredicted but still completely useless against these chains. But then I finally realized what felt off from the start. His terrifying power came from that auction relic. I don't know the exact science, but he has a force that melts things. Trust me, if everything he touches melts, I won't even be able to get close to him. This is bad, Kegio growled. No amount of thinking can save you now. Once I unleash this, you're dead. All right, you and I are about to watch one of the craziest, most dangerous showdowns ever. But wait, at the last second, Yun-Nam is shocked. Sun-Gu actually grabbed his hand instead of dodging. He quickly realizes Sun-Gu baited him just to study his hands. But seeing it won't change your fate. Sun-Gu spins, easily dodging the next strike. He finally figures out how this guy fights. The real danger isn't the claws, it's his blood. Sun-Gu demands to know what's wrong with it. How can human blood melt steel and flesh instantly? Yun-Nam sneers that he'll take that secret to his grave. Yun-Nam's attacks become incredibly fast and heavy. He's finally showing his true monstrous power. Now don't blink, because this next massive reveal is about to change how we see this entire fight. Only one clan had this acidic blood, and they're long gone. Sun-Gu asks if he's the last poison burst survivor. Yun-Nam freezes in shock. How could this high schooler possibly know about a dead, forgotten clan? Years ago, the Ghost Blade sect massacred his entire clan. But as they were leaving, they found something unexpected. All the poisoned children were dead, except for one crying baby. The henchmen asked if they should kill it, but the master thought keeping this sole survivor alive would be fun. That's how Yun-Nam's dark fate began. Even as a child, his talent was insane. But his acidic blood accidentally melted another kid's leg during training. The master knew the Poison Burst clan fed their kids lethal venom for generations, slowly mutating their blood into pure acid. With savage instincts and poison blood, the master realized Yun-Nam would become uncontrollable. I needed to keep him on a tight leash. As Yun-Nam grew older, he realized he wasn't normal. His blood made him a monster. Nobody dared to touch him. Even his teachers shoved him away, telling him to get lost and sweep. The poor kid didn't understand what he did wrong. Why was he born different and hated by everyone? Angry and alone, he punched a massive tree to pieces. But then a chirping baby bird caught his attention. I didn't want the bird to feel lonely like him, so he gently picked it up to help. I know what you're thinking, that's incredibly tragic. And yeah, it gets even worse from here. Shunned and feared forever. He decided if people hated him, he'd give them a real reason to be terrified. Sun-Gu asks why he serves the monsters who wiped out his family. Yun-Nam snaps, telling him to shut up. Who are you to judge me? If you have ties to the S-class Apostle Bardro, you must be Glory. But I'd know if a master swordsman like you existed. Sun-Gu just smiles and says, make me tell you. A solid hit to his jaw did 0 damage. Sun-Gu realizes basic physical strikes aren't going to cut it. But if he cuts him, his acidic blood becomes a weapon. It's a total trap with no easy escape. Unless he can neutralize that toxic blood, he's done. Sun-Gu needs a genius plan and fast. Boom! Sun-Gu is blasted through glass, crashing into a utility closet. But amidst the trash, he spots something. Yun-Nam orders him to reveal Bardro's location for a painless death. Sun-Gu just compliments his insane strength. You've probably never met your match, huh? Yun-Nam snaps, asking why he's joking when he's about to die. Who's joking? Sun-Gu says it's time to get serious and turn his own weapon against him. Yun-Nam sneers that close or long-range attacks won't work, but Sun-Gu just grins, grabbing a wooden mop. And trust me, you and I are about to see a legendary assassin do the impossible with a simple mop.